January 5th, 2026. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful. And it's that time once again for your daily Torment Report, where we cover the posts from the men who are tormenting the world the most, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. We're going to jump right into this because we have a massive amount of content to catch up on, and we're going to be skipping a lot. So we're going to skip over because they both were both posting crazy stuff this weekend. Lots of memes and lots of repeat information. So we're going to kind of summarize and get through it as fast as we can because even that's probably going to take us 2 hours. And then if we have time, I made a fun experiment this weekend where I developed how do you say it? A life cycle generator where I was toying with the idea of introducing Watcher DNA and Nephilim DNA into human DNA, because I've learned that males inherit the Y chromosome, females inherit the mtDNA, and there were some interesting things that I learned just from doing this simulator that I'd like to share with you if we have time. So maybe we'll get into that depending on how long this goes. If we can do this in 2 hours, I think we'll get to it, or less. 2 hours or less would be great. Let's jump into it. We'll start. Here we go. So obviously, the most important news is Maduro. Maybe not the most important news, but the most prevalent news. Let's put it that way. Donald Trump posted on Saturday. The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There will be a news conference today at 11 a.m. That already happened at Mar-a-Lago. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. This has been the topic of discussion throughout the weekend, and it's, again, one of those things where it boggles my mind how crazy the left are. I read one meme that is so funny, I felt it warranted repeating. Trump could save a baby from the ocean, and the left would argue that he was starving the sharks. Anyway. So he made this. I'm not going to play the audio because it will demonetize the video. So I'm going to start working on monetizing the videos, not because I need the money. I don't. But because I've found that YouTube actually propagates the videos significantly more when they're monetized. So we're actually going to make an effort to not get the videos demonetized by playing cool music. Here we go. So this is just a video of them going into Venezuela. He's posted this and posted it a couple of times and pinned it to his channel. But hundreds of aircraft went in. There was there's no loss of life on the American side. You guys probably know more about this than I do. No loss on the American side. One aircraft was injured, wounded, struck, but still able to fly and complete its mission over the weekend. So I can't say the same about loss of life for Maduro's security. Obviously, somebody got hit there. But yeah, so they went in and they got him before he could get into his safe room. And then they extracted him and his wife. They are on their way. They are in New York, I believe, now. I find it interesting that they would take him to New York, of all places. Let's see. People are paying attention to Marco Rubio now and are noting that he and not Vance should be first on the ticket, with possibly Tulsi as a running mate. Interesting. I wish I could play the music. It's pretty rockin'. America. All right, so here's a picture he posted of Maduro. I believe that's on the ship. They had him in cuffs. Nicolas Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima. Yep. Some more pictures. It's funny. There's a bunch of memes about him, about Marco Rubio being in charge of Venezuela now. So these are just some pictures of them during the operation. Apparently, they set up a temporary command center in Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, look at Trump. He's just cool. This guy's like on the edge of a seat. Trump's just he knows something. Yep, very cool. I love how the news like to take pictures like this and then they like digitally edit his eyes and say that he's sleeping. Maybe he is. When you get up at 5 and go to bed at midnight, maybe he does need little naps throughout the day. See Fury saying Iran's leader is planning to flee his country and go to Moscow because of the 9 days of protests. Yeah. They held an emergency security meeting in the UN. I caught some of that today, and Waltz reminded them that Article 51 of the UN Charter says every nation has the right to self-defense. Venezuelan military targeted civilians and recruited them to fight the USA and began to suppress them after the arrest of Maduro. Trump warned he might launch another strike. Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know how they're going to run Venezuela. Trump has said that they don't have boots on the ground yet. I think that's what you're referring to, Fury. The vice president, I believe, is currently in charge of the military. The idea would be to transition because Maduro fraudulently won the election. This is one of the reasons why he needed to be removed. And you'll notice that Trump posts a lot about elections over the weekend and cheating. A lot of that took place in Venezuela. Oh, you know what? I should go back and look at. The eclipses during seal number 2 might have actually been over Venezuela. Just had a random thought. Let me go check this out. So that's seal number 1. That's seal number 2. Let's move my ugly mug out of here. Darn it, I don't have the path. I think. I don't know. I'll check in on it and follow up. The eclipse during seal number 2 might have actually been over Venezuela because I remember making a big point of it saying, why is the eclipse over Venezuela? I could be misremembering. Anyway, sidetrack. Let's see. Trump sent a warning to Canada about the fact that they might be next, especially now that they're made a right. Assisted suicide now targets children. Oh man, Canada, what happened to you? You used to be the country of the friendly folk. Now you're the weirdos that are suiciding children. Good Lord. All right, 2 days ago, Trump reposted from Emmanuel Macron. The Venezuelan people are today rid of Nicolas Maduro's dictatorship and can only rejoice. By seizing power and trampling on fundamental freedoms, Nicolas Maduro gravely undermined the dignity of his own people. Yeah, man, they were rejoicing in the streets. There's been a lot of video and a lot of thank yous coming through the internet for Donald Trump. The upcoming transition must be peaceful, democratic, and respectful of the will of the Venezuelan people. We wish the president, Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia, elected in 2024, can swiftly ensure this transition. I'm currently exchanging with our partners in the region. France is fully mobilized and vigilant, including to ensure the safety of its nationals during these certain times. Yeah, that UN meeting, that emergency meeting today, I kind of caught it off and on. Mixed results on whether the different nations were supporting this. Surprisingly, you would think there would be 100% unanimous support of taking out a dictator, but that was definitely not the case. There was definitely support, but just some of the stuff that they were saying, like I said, it goes back to that meme. Trump could save a child from drowning in the ocean, and the left would put up a fight that he's starving the sharks. Let's see. Fury says Cuba is hurting badly since most of their income came from Venezuela. Color tattoo ink is now linked to increased risk of cancer. And elections are a good example of rigged. And the United States gets to decide countries' elections. What a hypocritical farce. Actually, they've been, with this is why the United States is pushing towards voter ID and paper ballots, because everybody knows for a fact that that's how you have fair and honest elections. It's with the introduction of these electronic voting machines, and Trump actually posted a video of this weekend. It's with the introduction of the electronic voting machines that they're able to actually cheat. And there's videos, and we've seen these videos. A lot of people on YouTube may not have seen them, but if you were, watching Rumble during the election and after the election when Trump was saying that it was rigged, there was a lot of video, a lot of testimony, a lot of evidence, like massive amounts of evidence of voter fraud that never just went anywhere, which is to be expected when you have a Department of Justice, which is subject to the president, because if the president is the one who's cheating, obviously he's going to have his Department of Justice not prosecute election fraud. So, but now that, Trump and his Department of Justice are able to resurface this stuff again, present the evidence, and maybe do something, who knows? We all know how this ends. Oh, this is Maduro. So Maduro was posting a video telling Trump to come get him. Maybe, this ends all arguments. He said, come get him.
Venga por mí. Aquí lo espero en Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde.
Told him to come get him.
Got 3 things to say. God bless.
Okay, I gotta turn off the audio. But yeah, so that's Trump responding. Actually, Venezuela interfered in our elections and elections throughout the world, and that was one of the reasons they got invaded. Yep. This was Trump coming to get them. All right. So let's see. So from Elon Musk on X, God bless the United States military. Elon posted that on 1/3/2026, which we'll see that here soon. And then Trump is reposting another post from Elon Musk, who was reposting from SMX, which says, I am a citizen of the United States and have only that passport. No matter what happens, I will fight and die for America. He was quoting Elon Musk, and Elon was just agreeing with that. Yeah, we read that actually on Friday. All right, so from Laura Loomer, Trump posted from Laura Loomer. I don't know what it is, but Trump just makes me feel so pumped up to be an American. He makes it very exciting to be an American. Thank you, President Trump. The greatest president we have ever had. Agreed. And those same people who are pumped up, there's also the equal and opposite reaction of those who are terribly tormented by President Donald Trump, which is why we do these torment reports, because there are those who have extreme Trump derangement syndrome. All right, what do we got here? So this is a video. Let's listen.
Kiley stood on the House floor and stated what California's own audit confirms. California is the fraud capital of America. Not hyperbole, not partisan exaggeration, a mathematical certainty derived from the state's own accounting. The number of agencies designated as high risk for waste, fraud, abuse, or mismanagement has doubled under Newsom's tenure. 8 separate agencies now carry this designation, meaning they exhibit serious fiscal pathologies and have failed to implement adequate corrective actions despite repeated warnings. The Employment Development Department that dispensed $32 billion to fraudsters, the Department of Social Services overseeing CalFresh benefits, hemorrhaging billions in improper payments, the Department of Finance that lost track of $24 billion in homelessness funds, the California High-Speed Rail Authority burning through $18 billion with nothing to show but environmental studies and abandoned construction sites. These are not discrete failures, but systemic collapse manifesting across every major function of state government.
Zechariah 5 says that the scroll that's going throughout the earth is the curse, the one that's going into the homes of the thieves and the perjurers. That's what these fraudsters are. These fraudsters are thieves and perjurers. And I imagine that from what we've discovered so far about the scale of the fraud, that the level of the fraud, if Donald Trump, with the level of exposure, he just turned off all funding going to NGOs. I imagine there's going to be a sudden and dramatic impact on a lot of states where this fraud is taking place. I think we're going to start finding out just how much fraud has been taking place, and maybe that's the kind of the trigger to the Great Tribulation. Is there's going to be a lot of people with no money that have been probably spending it recklessly, and with no regard for savings or planning for the future. So they're going to suddenly, they're going to be suddenly hurting. Fury says, first, the VP was very belligerent towards Trump, sending messages demanding Maduro's release and threatening. Then she backed down and began to sound very contrite, especially when she realized Trump had people's back and they weren't with her. That's a very good point, Fury. The people are ecstatic that Maduro has been captured. He's been oppressing them for, 20 some odd years now. And Trump's had enough. Maduro, as belligerent as he was, continuing to send drugs and fund drugs and, basically sending death to America. Trump has had enough and finally did something. It's nice to see some action. I wish we could wake up every weekend to some new Maduro level of news. So-and-so's been put in jail. So-and-so's been convicted. So-and-so is subject to the death penalty. Every weekend would be nice. It can dominate the news for that week. Oh, right. From Wall Street Apes, Gavin Newsom now has 8 separate agencies officially designated as high risk for waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement in California. Roughly $76 billion in fraud, improper payments, and mismanagement was discovered by the auditor. Let me repeat that. $76 billion with a B. Representative Kevin Kiley stood on the House floor and stated what California's own audit confirms. California is the fraud capital of the world. Not hyperbole, not partisan exaggeration. Oh, is this what he just said? Yeah, that's what he said in that video. There you go. All right, what do we got here? So this is the shift. During the 2020 election, trucks of ballots were coming in from third-party company called Runbeck for over a week after the 2020 elections in Arizona. The witness claims she was there until the 10th and they were still coming in and has no idea where the ballots originally even came from in the first place. So let's listen to this.
So there were trucks that showed up on the 3rd and then the 4th and then the 5th. And how long did that go on? How many days?
Well, I wasn't there the whole last week, but I know
for as long as you can recall. How many days?
My last day was the 10th, and they were still coming in.
Trucks.
And they're coming from a company called Runbeck that does the high-speed scanning and printing of duplications and I think the military ballots. So now I'm getting out of my comfort level here talking about this. I don't know what they're doing, but those ballots were coming in from a high-speed scanning company called Runbeck that. Apparently you haven't heard of Runbeck?
No, I've heard of Runbeck,
Okay.
ma'am. But what I'm trying to figure out is whether they printed them or they scanned them, and if they scanned them off-site, to what purpose?
I can't tell you
Because wasn't that your job to scan them? Well, I beg, not your job, but...
Yeah. No, all the high-speed scanning happens at Runbeck. So those ballots go to Runbeck. As far as I know, there were no observers there. I don't know. I never got called to work at Runbeck. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, with all due respect, Mr. Cook, now we've opened up a whole new can of worms.
Yeah, and again,
So
I don't know enough about it to be the witness.
No, that's fine. Your observation is useful here. So what you're telling me, I'm going to play this back to you a second. The scanning wasn't actually done on site at a Maricopa County structure. It was done someplace else.
Where they have very high-speed scanners, yeah. And,
right now, I really don't care what the speed is.
Yeah.
I want to know, were they Dominion scanners? Or
no, I don't think it has anything to do with Dominion.
So I'm trying to understand, what was the purpose of scanning them in advance of them being tabulated on the Dominion equipment?
They were duplicate duplications, the ballots that wouldn't read through the tabulation machines. They were ballots that came in from military and overseas. But there were more ballots than that. So I don't know where the rest of them were coming from, because they kept bringing trays of them in. So I don't know where they were coming from. That's a question for the county employees to explain to you where those ballots came from.
Yeah, I remember all of this stuff during that time. There's Maduro again saying, "Come and get him." From Nick. So this is Nick Shirley talking to a police officer. Trump posted this 2 days ago.
And we headed over to the next building that had 22 of the same home health care providers operating from inside of the building.
Here you have multicultural home care. And
we're not going to play all these because we're well familiar with the fraud in Minneapolis right at this point. Bravo, Nick Shirley. Thank you for your hard work. Let's see, this is from Donald Trump. Never give up.
Remember that nothing worth doing is ever easy. You'll have bad moments. You gotta love what you're doing. And if you don't, just do something else. Keep standing up always for your values. Keep loving your country. And one of the most important things, never, ever quit. Never quit. Then ask yourself, what imprint will you leave in the sands of history? What will future Americans say we did in our brief time right here on Earth? Did we take risks? Did we dare to defy expectations? Did we challenge accepted wisdom and take on established systems? In my short time in Washington, I've seen firsthand how the system is broken. A small group of failed voices who think they know everything.
All right. We're not going to play all this. That was probably already too much. But I love listening to these inspirational videos that he puts out. Really gives you insight into who he is, I believe. You know, this is the Donald Trump that I've known throughout my life. You know, somebody who I have followed. And there's some Elon Musk posted some of these that we're going to listen to as well. Gives me a lot of courage listening to these kind of speeches. I love them. Wish we could listen to them. All right, what do we got here? News. Nope. You gonna play? How about this one?
Now learned, and the government has had, Jack Smith and his prosecutors have had to admit that that was staged, and those top secret classified sheets that all the public saw and said, oh my God, look at those top secret documents, those were placed there by the FBI. What Jack Smith admitted in court this week was that, in his word, they mishandled the classified documents and misrepresented those to the court. Maria, that's a kind way of saying we tampered with the evidence, then we lied to the court about it, and they got caught when President Trump's lawyers and the other co-defendants raised this issue and said, look, the documents here don't match up. The documents that were presented to us don't match the digitally scanned records of when they were taken from Mar-a-Lago. And Jack Smith, not only did they tamper with that and lie to the court about it, but he's now admitted to the court that he doesn't know how that happened. He's only offered a number of possible explanations for how that could have happened. So he's absolutely blown the chain of custody. And again, he has a prosecutor, lead prosecutor in this case, Jay Bratt, who met with White House counsel and a representative of the National Archives in...
We don't have to listen to all of these. I think we get the point. You know, I would not be heartbroken to see some very extremely severe penalties handed out for the stuff that's coming to light, like death row type stuff. It would not... I think that that's what we need at this point, because we've sat back for the last, 5, 6, 7 years watching the most egregious forms of fraud and treason perpetrated on the United States of America. And you can see that in the fruit of the last administration, with all honesty. During the fruit of the last administration was detrimental and putrid. And how quickly Trump was able to come in and turn it around for the better. And not only that, but also things that we've dealt with for decades. bringing in, money from via tariffs rather than, taking it from the people in the country. All this climate change stuff, which has been detrimental to the country, getting rid of that and getting back to the things we know work. It's refreshing to see truth and honesty prevail. And I realize there are people who are going to absolutely disagree with that. But as an observer, as an objective, critical observer, I like this president and what he's been doing because he's proving what is right and what works versus the stuff that the idiots, not only that they defend to this day, the idiots defend their idiocracy, but he proves what works, and I love it. And I'd really like to see some people, I don't know, do I? I mean, I do. I'm just trying to think, like, to what extent does the Torah say that people should be punished? Let's just put it that way. To the full extent allowed via the Torah. There, I'm safe. All right, Salty Goat posted, Jack Smith tampered with evidence, then lied to the court about it in a ploy to get Trump. That's not just dishonest, it's illegal. When do we get back to see Jack Smith in handcuffs? Oh, what is this? So this is posted 2 days ago. Warning to the Nigerian government. Better move fast to stop the killing of Christians.
If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. These are cherished people. These are great people. Leave them alone. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast before it's too late. If they don't, there's going to be hell to pay.
I love it. That reminds me so much of maybe the Great Tribulation is not tribulation on the righteous, like maybe we've assumed, to where, we're thinking internally to where, like, potentially we're going to be under tribulation. Maybe it's finally justice. Because when you look at, like, what seal number 6 is, how quickly can I get to seal number 6? Seal number 5. So seal number 5, when he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. Man, I've been studying the Catholic Church yesterday, and the amount of death that they caused on Christians. It makes me think about these guys for their testimony. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth?" Maybe this is part of this. For then there will be great tribulation, such as not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. Maybe this is the enactment of justice. Maybe this is when we start to see, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth. Then a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who would be killed as they were was completed. So this isn't the focus. Could be. I think I tend to internalize this myself, thinking that, like, there's the possibility of death, our own personal death during this time, which nobody wants to think about that, obviously. But maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. Maybe the Great Tribulation is Trump's revenge. Ooh, maybe we should call it that, Trump's revenge. Wouldn't that be? Or justice, it's the Great Tribulation, more like the I don't know, it's just tribulation. It makes me wonder, what does that constitute? All right, getting back to the postesses. Yep. Dominion voting. This is going to be good. I don't know if we'll watch this whole thing. We'll watch enough to get the point. It's these double posts. Come on, play.
I found that there were about 25,000 ballots that were not printed from the official Dominion PDF ballot. In other words, the printing process, appearance, is completely different than what you would get from a first-generation PDF printing.
We had approximately 25,000 ballots that were not created from the PDF that is used for the election process. So in other words, the election provider comes up with ballots, and it's specific to a geographical area, because the person that lives in this neighborhood might not be voting for the same people that live in that neighborhood or another neighborhood. So here in Maricopa County, from memory, you had 5,012 or something like that, just over 5,000 different permutations and combinations to the ballots. Then that's multiplied by 2 because there's a Spanish version that's available for each one of these ballots. But it's the same ballot with the same people, just in a different language. So we've got we'll just say 5,000 different ballots for now that are created ahead of time, and those are created in PDF. Now, the big reason why is that you have a third party send out mail-in ballots, so those have to be created in advance. And second, for your early voting, you have vote on demand. So in other words, even if I live way out in the corner of the county, but I work downtown, I could go to something downtown that could print my ballot from my area, and I could vote here. It's convenient. A lot of people do that. So these PDFs are created in advance. They're obviously good quality PDFs, and when they're printed, they should look roughly or exactly the same. In this group of ballots, I find that the quality is severely degraded from what a PDF would be as if printed on demand, or if printed by your third-party provider who prints these all the time.
I'm Eric Spakeen. I'm a forensic chemist and a forensic document analyst. That means I deal with all aspects of question documents, when they were made, if they've been altered, changed, or added to, and how long ink has been on paper. I was asked if I had experience in election matters to look at primarily printing processes, machine copied marks, CPS code, which is a counterfeit protection system. And I said that I did, and I traveled to Arizona with 3 other people from my office that I had. Number one is that there were a series of ballots that I examined the photographs of, and Dominion, as the election subcontractor, produced ballots for each of the zones or districts that were involved, at least in the area that I looked at here in Maricopa County. And there were 5,000 approximately, a little over, different ballots. As you know, in a state there could be 2 different senator races, there could be 10 different House races, and all the permutations and combinations is what gives you the 5,000. So they create a final ballot for each one of these districts or zones or regions, so that when you go in and you give your name and it knows you're from this area, you would get this ballot to vote on all the issues that pertain to you, and only the issues that pertain to you. And I found that there were about 25,000 ballots that were not printed from the official Dominion PDF ballot. In other words, the printing process, appearance, is completely different than what you would get from a first-generation PDF printing. As you can imagine, the lines are perfect. So they're perfectly straight, no breaks in them, the circles or ovals as they may be, and they're a solid line. When I examined some of the early voting ballots and election day ballots from various polling locations, there were about 25,000 that did not have printing from this perfect PDF, as you would expect, but instead had breaks in all the same places around an oval. So you can look at one of the ovals and there are imperfections in the line, and they're in the same place on every single one of these ballots.
These 25,000 unidentifiable ballots alone represent over double the amount of Joe Biden's 10,457 vote mark.
In July of 21, actually before that, we told them in June, we told them that we suspected, from what we're seeing, 25,000 plus counterfeit inauthentic ballots. That was early on in the process. Again, because of propaganda by the GOP's attorney, the GOP, other conservative operatives, they planted the seed inside this that you can't trust that, no, that's not it, etc. You'll hear more about it. But every one of the people up there knew this in advance, even of this hearing today. Now, the reason I bring that up is they had well over a year and a half to react to this so it wouldn't be duplicated in 2022. But they didn't. They did nothing, and they allowed it. They enabled this to be done again.
Maybe the opening of seal number 5 is the elimination of the filibuster and then the handcuffs being taken off. That would be awesome.
Recently released audio recordings reveal conversations that happened between the Attorney General and individuals who were later implicated and in some cases convicted in the Feeding Our Future scandal. In those recordings, the Attorney General...
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. State your point of order. Masons 124, paragraph 1, in debate, members must confine...
Recently released audio...
Speaker. State your point of order. Masons 124, paragraph 1, in debate, members must confine remarks to questions before the body and avoid personalities. The debate here is not any individual. It is the policy and the amendment.
Representative Niska.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Attorney General was asked in those recordings to use his authority to protect businesses under investigation for wrongdoing, and rather than distance himself or remain neutral to allow the legal process to unfold, he responded in those recordings, "Of course, I'm here to help."
Mr. Speaker, point of parliamentary inquiry.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
So annoying.
Mr. Speaker, there was a point of order, and I didn't hear a ruling or any resolution of the point of order. Was there a resolution to it?
I'll remind the body that there was no ruling made by the Speaker as to the point of order that was just stated. Representative Niska.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Attorney General in those recordings even urged the individuals, let's go fight these people. He was offered campaign contributions during that meeting, contributions that he later accepted. The release of those audio recordings raises questions about what's going on in the Attorney General's office that go directly to the need to pass the legislation that we had previously debated, House File 20. Although he has insisted that nothing came of the meeting, his office blocks disclosure of closed investigative
State your point
data.
of order.
Masons 124.
The A11 will help ensure that what happens behind closed doors in the Attorney General's office sees the light of day. We can protect people's privacy while shining a light on what the Attorney General's office is doing, who is influencing that office, whether it's those under a criminal investigation, nonprofits, corporations, or billionaires with political agendas, because Minnesotans have a right to know when their Attorney General's office is working with them. Minnesotans have a right to know whether the Attorney General is telling the truth, that nothing came of that meeting. That's why the A11 is so important.
Interesting. Shoot. It went way backwards. Okay, no more clicking into posts. All right, we've got a lot to get through. We're not going to watch all of these videos, just the short ones.
So you're telling me that DHS has acknowledged that Venezuela, for example, is emptying their prisons and their rehabilitation centers with the understanding you get out if you leave here and go to the United States?
Yes.
And
all right, we're going to leave it there. Keep moving. What's this?
Got to ask you, do you believe votes were manipulated, changed electronically in favor of Joe Biden? And
there's a lot of evidence about votes being changed, so we're going to skip through those ones and just assume that he's presenting this as evidence of votes being changed, because there's a lot of it.
Started as a daycare fraud investigation in Minnesota is now entering a far more serious phase. After the first arrests, investigators say the case did not stop at fake daycare centers. According to news sources close to the investigation, authorities are now tracing where the money actually went, and what they're finding is raising even more alarm. Bank records show public funds being moved through layers of shell accounts, routed across states, and withdrawn in cash within days. Some accounts were linked to individuals with no child care background at all. Officials say this was not sloppy fraud. It was organized. Several properties tied to the case are now under surveillance. Others have been quietly shut down. Federal agencies are reportedly expanding audits beyond Minnesota, reviewing similar programs in other states. Meanwhile, families who depended on legitimate daycare assistance are now facing sudden disruptions as payments are frozen and facilities close overnight. Investigators warn this may not be a single state scandal, but a blueprint. And now a new question is spread.
Yeah, it does. It does seem as though they found a business model that they replicated across multiple states. Let's see. Trump once suggested a special ballot set up with blockchain and special ink, and I'm hoping he does that. Agreed, me too. There was an explosion in Iran today at a dairy plant. It was a welding accident and had nothing to do with the protest. No one was hurt. Thank you. All right, what do we got here? Probably more evidence.
Mail-in ballots counted without being observed. Those are the ballots we were talking about that were not observed in Allegheny County and in Philadelphia. Correct. Is that right? 682,770. Now, this is the part that is a mystery. Mailed ballots sent out, 1,823,148. But when you go to the final count of the vote, there are 2,589,242 mail-in ballots. What happened?
It would not surprise me if his win wasn't overwhelming, because like numbers like that, I remember hearing about all these things, and he also, I remember, because he kept making a point about this, that why is it that Joe Biden received more votes than any other Democrat ever in like the history of voting? He kept making points of that. Wouldn't it surprise me if they don't find, in the end, when all of this is said and done, egregious numbers of ballots that should not have been cast.
And how do you account for the?
I mean, even that 700,000 is ridiculous. All right, what do we got here? Okay.
Did you know that in 2008, 500,000 voters, or nearly 19% of all voters in Minnesota, registered on Election Day? What? And did you know that former Senator Al Franken was elected by 312 votes? So I'm not alleging anything on the program, but what I am saying is that this vouching system, which clearly opens the door for potential fraud, could swing statewide elections.
Yep. All right, this is another one alleging fraud. This was registering homeless people. I remember watching that one today. What is this?
Two F's come to mind. The first being fraud by design. This wasn't an accident. This didn't just happen. It's a system that's designed by the left for people in their social circles. It starts all the way at the top of the federal government with the Obama administration, promulgated even more by the Biden administration. It runs down to the states, to governors across the country, including Governors Walz and Governor Mills. And even at the local level, you see the bad actors, you read the headlines, you see what's happening right here in Maine, certainly in Minnesota, and I would agree with what's been said so far that this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. The other F is financial Armageddon. That's what we're heading for. If you don't think that the Trump administration is serious about getting a handle on this, you're probably on another planet. This is going to have implications for the state of Maine in the billions with a B of dollars. This will spell financial Armageddon for our state. We have got to get a handle on this problem.
Yeah, it's amazing, Coach, how that works, where people who think they're so smart don't see issues. You know, that's central to how Satan works. Really it does. It's one of the reasons why it's so important to recognize that God is spirit is by recognizing Satan gets people to think that they are God, or that something else is God that they could aspire to. It's very narcissistic in nature. When we look at the records in regards to Satan, it's always about Satan. And that you can see Satan move in that godlike mentality. And that's what I see with people who think they're so bloody smart that they're above reproach, or that they're without question, and that you must follow them and be obedient, or follow what they say because they're right and you're wrong. Very central to, sin and knowledge of good and evil, if you will. What is this?
Do you guys remember Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota state rep that had her life taken from her by Tim Walz's aide after voting to take away health care from illegal immigrants?
She was unalived in her home by Vance Bolter, who was later caught after a manhunt. He then sent a letter to the FBI and Kash Patel saying that it was Tim Walz who forced him to do it. Both Vance Bolter and his wife worked for Tim Walz for years in different states. Was Melissa Hortman unalived because she voted against a multi-billion-dollar money laundering fraud? The fraud that she voted against that heavily implicated illegal aliens, specifically Somalians, who have been racketing this kind of child care, health care rackets and cooperating with our corrupt government. And today it's breaking news that the money laundering scam in Minnesota of billions of dollars for healthcare offices, child daycares, Medicaid, and various forms of care agencies. These money laundering frauds have been exposed, and it all comes back to Tim Walz. I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota. Very shortly after this, she was unalived in her home by Vance Bolter. Vance Bolter and his wife worked for Tim Walz for years in different states.
Wow. Not surprising. Oh, I love this guy.
The 76-day period you're talking about.
Good old John.
That's the period between the time that President Trump was elected and President Biden left office. Is that right?
That is correct.
And during that short period of time, 76 days, how much taxpayer money went out the door of the Department of Energy?
From the Loan Program Office in loans and commitments, $93 billion. Well over twice as much as in the previous 15 years. So,
how do you vet and do due diligence on a loan in 76 days? One loan.
Yeah, me too. Oh, shoot, I clicked on this. Oh, good, it stayed there.
The 76-day period you're talking about. That's
correct.
In the 76-day period, before their boss was going to leave office, gave or loaned money to entities that had no business plan?
Correct.
No financials?
Correct. A number of those were were before the 76-day period as well. I've come in with great concern about how this institution, this great American institution, has been run and how American taxpayer money has been handled. I'm sorry everyone's upset that we're taking some time to do it, but what we've seen...
I don't wish death on anyone, Dr. Lauren Holder, but I do wish to see justice. I'd love to see a lot of these guys in jail.
I'm not
what
upset.
The record shows
I'm
is
not
just
upset. Could it be that a lot of people say you haven't...
We're so close to Christ returning, we can let him decide who lives and who dies.
Return your calls.
Just put them in jail and
could it be
until
that
the return.
You and your colleagues have returned the calls, but the people calling just didn't like the answer?
All right, we can't listen to this whole thing as much as I want to. I could listen to John Kennedy all day long. He the way he speaks is just music to my ears. I love it.
I just want to talk to you.
So this is Venezuela. These are the people happy.
In real time. There are hundreds of people here. Tell me, why did you want to be out here?
Well, okay. Before I begin, I just want to I just want to talk to you, America, and I hope you have your coffee when I tell you this, but these are great news. All eyes on Venezuela. These are historical news. This is history in the making. I mean, my chest, it feels like it's going to explode with joy. Like, President Donald Trump and Maria Corina Machado just created an opportunity for us to begin working harder than ever, because that's what we have always been doing, but now we will be working in our country. But, you know, we also have worked so hard here in the United States to build so much things, and I just want to thank you, America. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to work. Yeah, come celebrate with us. We love everybody because you, America, has loved us so much. So much. Thank you, America.
Yeah. Boom. Marco Rubio nailed it. What does he
We
say?
revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country.
Yeah, that's what it did sound like, Dr. Lauren Holder. It sounds like that was the accusation, that being involved with that fraud, whether he was responsible directly or indirectly, sounds like that was the insinuation.
So it's just that simple. I think it's
okay. Marco Rubio making a point there. If you're going to come here to the United States, you better love the United States.
This is Minnesota Judge Sarah West. Judge Sarah West was the judge that oversaw a $7 million Medicaid fraud case. And despite the fact that the jury convicted him unanimously, Judge Sarah West said, no,
like
we're not going to be doing that today. Now, she claims that she threw out this unanimous guilty verdict due to the fact that all of the evidence presented was merely circumstantial. Now, what was this circumstantial evidence, you may be asking? Well, Abdi Fattah Yusuf and his wife were running a home health care service out of their home, and despite the fact that their business is inside of their house, they were able to afford all of these fancy trips and luxury vehicles and these thousands of dollars of shopping sprees. So the math wasn't really quite mathing. So not only in Minnesota can you absolutely rob the state blind with fraud, but even if you get convicted by a unanimous jury, a judge will still let you off the hook. Isn't that special?
Yeah. Math wasn't mathing. I love it. All right. Gavin Newscomb interview proves he's been lying for decades.
Let me start by asking you, where have you been? $522.2 million shortfall.
Working the line right now. We doubled the National Guard. We have 1,600.
Last year we had a 570. Wait a minute. 5.6. Hank, I'm here to talk about tomorrow, today and tomorrow. Now, yesterday I've been working my tail off. I've been out. I think I had 69 public events in the last 2.5 weeks. You know, I heard you say that on the radio today, yeah. And then I asked your staff, well, where's the printout? Where are these events? And your press person said, well, this is stuff he just goes to. Yeah, these are all public events, yeah. So. But look, you know the criticism that you have been dodging, not just the press, but also the public, that you have been sulking.
Okay, we don't need to watch all of that. We know Newscomb is scum. More Maduro stuff, more videos of them going in. We don't need to read the articles. What do we got here? Is this Venezuela? Trump just showed every liberal Democrat what a real No Kings celebration is supposed to look like. Happy that Maduro, the dictator, has been removed. Pretty good. All right, what is this?
Trucks that showed up on the 3rd.
More election fraud.
And then the fourth.
Oh, we already watched this one. This is that lady testifying about the speed dealio. All right, what do we got here?
This is how they stole it.
All right. Don't want to get dinged. This is how they stole it. So this is just, obviously, this is a meme, a mashup of video of them. Yeah, I remember that. I remember them putting the boards on the window so you couldn't see them in there counting the ballots. Why would you do that? What's the point of doing that unless you're going to cheat? Non-citizens allowed to vote. So I reach for my MAGA hat. Let's see, me and my friends. Bet you this is a good song. You get the point. All right. There's more election fraud stuff, I imagine.
Were any of the GOP challengers in accordance with Michigan laws? We were constantly prevented from getting close enough to see what was going on with the respect to the ballots. Procedures were not being properly followed when.
A lot of that. Yep. Okay, what do we got here?
Charlie said this a few years ago, and of course he was spot on like he always was, that the teachers' unions were the biggest force of destruction in the country. And what we saw is every time we did something in Oklahoma, whether it was Turning Point USA, whether it was Bibles back in classrooms, whether it was banning DEI, parents' rights, school choice, didn't matter. The teachers' unions fought us, and they fought us nationally. It wasn't like your local teachers' union. It was money out of Chicago, New Jersey, New York. And so we have to take them head on. And just another example, they gave $400 million into Kamala Harris's campaign for president. They are a money laundering scheme for the Democrat Party. So what we do, first of all, is we get teachers to leave. We give them optouttoday.com as a website that, hey, get out, leave the union. But so many teachers go, well, what happens when we leave? Like, they're going to attack us, they're going to dox us, they're going to legally come after us. And that's where our organization comes in, the Teacher Freedom Alliance. We say, we'll give you liability insurance. We'll put you in a community of like-minded conservatives. We're not going to let them target you and single you out on an island. There's millions of us like you. And so that's what we're building, is that army of good conservative teachers that want to fight with parents to get the schools back.
Nice. I like that. All right. What do we got here?
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And
I like that. Gotta love it. I agree also. That would be a fantastic ticket. Rubio and Tulsa. J.D. Vance, man, there's just something about him I'm not really keen on. Mega News on St. Stephen Miller exposed.
Why are they engaged in all this? What is their objective here? It's the Somalification of America. In other words, when you see the state of Somalia, that's what they want for America at the end of the day, because it's easier to rule over an empire of ashes than it is for the Democratic Party to rule over a functioning, Western, high-trust society with a strong middle class. Look how powerful the Democrat Party became in Minnesota once they flooded it with 100,000 Somalians. Once the elections were decided, right, by clan rivalries and ethnic feuds. Once that happened, the Democrat Party became permanently powerful in Minnesota. They became permanently powerful in the Twin Cities. That's their model for America, to make the whole country into a version of Somalia. And everything they do gets down to that.
They're doing it in Europe, too. We're seeing that happen already in the EU.
It for your audience perfectly, Sean.
This was not a loophole. The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions.
Yeah, we watched
and to
it.
give them something known as parole, which gives them a work permit, which gives them a social security number, which gives them access to the voting booth. This was the plan all along.
Yep. Bring them in. Gives control to the Democrats. Gives control to the left.
For Biden? There was not a Trump vote in there. They all vote, and you do not have a place in any state. Maybe Dixville's Notch, where there were 5 voters at the first thing, and they all 5 voted for Biden. Maybe there, but not when you have something of 138,000. You don't all break that way, and it still shouldn't be linear because you have so many counters that are counting across the way that they're all tallying and reporting, and you don't bunch them in and report.
More voter fraud. What's this?
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interests, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization.
You know what I think about when I listen to his videos like this is I think about this proves spiritual movement at a global scale. To see, because that's what the horses represent in the first 4 seals: the white horse, the red horse, the black horse, the green horse. Is they represent the spirits that go to and fro and up and down in the earth. And we literally watched the effect of these spirits over the last 7 years during the Biden administration. You know, we watched the world go from 2 weeks to slow the spread to 2 years of lockdowns and deaths. We watched Joe Biden, saying everything's fine when the entire world is on fire. We see these giant movements, and then you get somebody in here like Trump, who, like Rubio said, he's not, saying one thing while his actions are doing something else. He says what he means and he does it. And those who see things through spiritual eyes recognize somebody who's a man of truth and integrity. And that's why we love Donald Trump and the left hate him, is those people who are fooled by the lies and the deception. They don't like somebody who comes in and does what he says he's going to do. But it's so fascinating to sit back and just watch how the spirits, during the Biden administration, it was the dragon moving throughout the world, causing chaos and destruction. And now it's like the Holy Spirit moving through Trump. It's awesome. And Elon Musk as well. There's a general recognition of the power of these two and what they're doing globally. I was watching a video today from a lawyer that I enjoy listening to, and he was recognizing that it is Donald Trump and Elon Musk who are responsible even for him being on the internet today. Maybe if we have time, we'll play that video.
That will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up.
Yeah.
The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefit of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Gotta love it. Kind of reminds you of the last Trump. That's no coincidence that that's in the scripture. At the last trump, the dead will be raised, and those who are alive and remain will be caught up together with the Lord in the air. I tell you, it is such a privilege and an honor to be alive during this day and time. This is a day that prophets have looked to be a part of for millennia. It's amazing. It's heartbreaking that more people aren't aware. A lot of there's many who are kind of aware, but I'm still in shock that they think it's so far into the future. The time is now. Christ is coming back soon. Our redemption is so close. What is this? This is long. I don't know if I'm going to read this all, but after all the corruption President Trump has exposed for all to see, we need to watch his 2016 campaign video with new ears now that we all have new eyes. Oh, that was his 2016 campaign video? Man, what a great speech. Before President Trump came along, our government had been captured by a group of tyrannical radicals that have absolutely no physical, emotional, or spiritual connection to the history and culture of our country or our people, and their only goal is to destroy our way of life and our country in every way imaginable. There are more of us than there are of them. This is the struggle, fight for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. The election will determine whether we are a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a handful of globalists, special interests, rigging the system, and the system is rigged. This is reality. I might as well finish it. Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this next election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest groups, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign, our movement, represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, regain control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. Thank you for everything you do for us, and God bless you, Mr. President. 2026 is going to be a historic year for America. Man, that's really great. That's from Bridget Fartig. Very nice. I think we already listened to this. Let's check.
Representative Kevin Kiley stood on the House floor and stated what California's own audit confirms. California is the fraud capital of America.
To some degree, we've definitely heard that.
Nothing but net positive. We even had local press reporting that some people that were refugees coming to the United States from Venezuela are now making arrangements to head back home. So, although you won't hear it on left-wing outlets, of which I was debating this last night on one of them, I can tell you it's been a very, very net positive. And you're actually seeing also, too, in places like Miami, there's actually been demonstrations in support of this. And so I think a lot of Venezuelan Americans are happy because they know that, back home is going to be safe now.
That's amazing. Time to go home now. It's safe back there.
Look, I've been hearing for 10 years that Trump's going to lose his base over this or that or the other. And for millions upon millions of Republicans who support what he's doing, who have lived through the last 10 years, they have learned to take Donald Trump for who he is, all in, all the time. And they are very appreciative of what he's doing for the country. They like what he's done on taxes. They like what he's doing on immigration. They like that he lives up to his campaign promises.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going. There's a lot of this.
Flash forward to 2:00 in the morning at midnight.
More election fraud stuff. What is this? More celebrations over Maduro. More Venezuelans celebrate. Democrats cry. Tulsi Gabbard makes a shocking revelation.
Listen. CTC has identified around 18,000 known and suspected terrorists that the Biden administration let come into our country. These are individuals who under normal circumstances would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda. Yet the Biden administration not only let them into the country, and in many cases facilitated their entry into the country.
The director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, would go on calling it the nation's top threat, pointing directly to Afghan refugees let in by President Biden after the Taliban takeover, the disastrous exit. Let's bring in the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. And director, I think you were probably one of the only ones not shocked by that number. I was stunned by it.
You know, it points to the heightened domestic threat that we face that is not often talked about or addressed, but obviously because of the recent tragedy really has come into focus on how many people have come into our country under the previous administration who have known or suspected ties to terrorists, to Islamist terrorists and jihadi groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and how many of those who we don't even know about, given we had tens of millions of people illegally crossing our borders over the last 4 years. President Trump has been very intent on keeping his promise to the American.
That's the other thing that worries me about the Great Tribulation is there's a lot of unknowns in every country with the amount of illegal immigrants that have come in.
People to make America safe again so that people can feel safe in their homes and in their communities, identifying those who we know are either connected directly to these terrorist groups or those who have ties to them. This is what we're focused on, working with the Department of Homeland Security to identify them and deport them to prevent any further attacks here at home.
I know we're throwing out about 1,000 a week. It was 600 a week, so the paces are picking up. We've gotten rid of 690,000 illegals so far in about a year. Do you know how many of the 18,000 we've tossed, caught up to, and got rid of or jailed?
We are currently working very hard to make this happen. I don't have the latest number exactly, but I can tell you that this needs to happen very, very quickly. Again, I want to point back to that summer and fall of 2021 after President Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. You know, there were over...
Yeah, that goes to show that we need to be doing like 5 to 10 times more deportation than we're currently doing. Because if you've got 15 to 20 million, you know, 500,000 a year ain't going to cut it. Gotta do more to take care of the problem. It's kind of what worries me. Yep, people celebrating. All right, what do we got here?
Fun fact of the day, guys. This one's for Tim Walz, actually. Being governor does not give you immunity from the FBI. There is no special exemption in federal law for state officials, so if there's probable cause for a federal crime, yeah, you know, like fraud or maybe conspiracy, they have full authority to investigate and make arrests. So, Timmy, I'm wondering how that's going to line up against your claim that, you know, all this fraud is related to Donald Trump and, you know, he...
Yep. Love it. More people celebrating Venezuela.
President Trump has blown the lid off of the refugee industrial complex. And the way this works is exactly the way that you said. The U.S. government historically, and this of course got taken to the highest degree ever under Biden, hands out billions, with a B, billions of dollars in grants to these third-party groups, non-governmental organizations, to work with the Department of State to find the poorest populations from the most dysfunctional places in the world and then bring them into small-town America. They typically look for areas in rural communities, rural places, or more traditional Midwestern towns that they can completely transform. So they send them to small towns in Ohio, to small towns in Maine, and of course we've seen their central project has been in Minneapolis and St. Paul in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And so these nonprofits get massively rich. They rake in a fortune. They become some of the wealthiest nonprofits the world has ever seen. And their job is to fly the refugees here, to help them become citizens, and to ensure that they are enrolled in every welfare benefit program imaginable.
The gravy train.
All of it at the expense of the American people. Exactly. It is heinous, it is shameful, and I'm proud of the fact, which we don't say enough, President Trump has stopped all refugee resettlement into the country. The only refugee resettlement that is happening are the Afrikaners being persecuted.
Good.
So we have also seen some interesting things related to the voter rolls. So for example, we have 11,326 people that did not show up on a November 7th version of the voter rolls that should have been after votes were cast. But then
more voter election fraud. Yep. Dominion, this one was pretty good. Is this the one where he goes in and shows how they swapped the ballots? Let me see.
I found that there were about 25,000 ballots that were not printed from the official Dominion PDF ballot.
No, this is
ahead of time, and those are created
PDF. So those are the ones that were basically forgeries, printed copies.
The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also
I
saying
wouldn't be
that
proud to have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. Look, these Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. That's a fraud. She tries to deny it now, but you can't really deny it because, it just happened. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota, okay? Minnesota, you have an incompetent governor. You have a crooked governor. He's crooked as hell, but he's incompetent. Walz he should be ashamed. That beautiful land, that beautiful state, it's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country. And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with... go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. All she does is complain about this country. And without this country, she would not be in very good shape. She probably wouldn't be alive right now. So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon. I hope. But what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor. A lot of it starts with Barack Hussein Obama, because that's when people started coming in. And
yeah,
you have to have people come in that are going to love our country, cherish our country. They want to kiss our country goodnight. They talk about our country. We want them to pray for our country. This is not the people living in Minnesota. And she's a disaster. She should not be, and her friends shouldn't be allowed. Frankly, they shouldn't even be allowed to be Congress people, okay? They shouldn't even be allowed to be Congress people because they don't represent the interests of our country.
Fire from the mouth. Gotta love it.
Thousands upon thousands of Nevada voters had their voices canceled out by election fraud.
More election fraud. Tons and tons of election fraud. Tons of celebration over Venezuela.
Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany, he wrote on X, Medicaid fraud review blocked by Wisconsin Democrats. Food stamp fraud review blocked by Wisconsin Democrats. Voter roll fraud review blocked by Wisconsin Democrats. Carrie, why would any elected official, public servant, or a citizen, for that matter, want to block any review of potential fraud?
We need to find out. We need to follow the money trail and find out if any of that money comes right back toward those politicians who are sitting in office looking the other way, burying their head in the sand. I have a feeling the money trail does trickle back to them, because they're acting in a way that doesn't make any sense. And the media is completely out of control. They finally show up in Minnesota. It's almost comical if it weren't so serious. Have you seen it? CNN shows up, and instead of digging into this and saying, wow, they missed the story, but
There's going to be a breaking point at some point in time where they're not going to be able to block the way they have been.
Let's dig into it now and get to the bottom of it. They're going after Nick Shirley, the guy who actually revealed this problem to the people. They're doing more investigating of Nick Shirley than of the fraud that's right there in front of their faces. And I can't wait to see how CNN and MSNBC, MSDNC, how they handle what we just saw with that Somali man coming out saying his business is broken into, and they stole the enrollment documents of the children who were there, and they stole the checkbooks so you couldn't see where the money was going. I can't wait to see how the media tries to cover for that obvious, ridiculous low.
I hope they find some information of how this was set up to where they find those who they get to the head of the snake.
Situation in my home state of Minnesota where we've got a number of daycare providers that are openly violating federal and state laws and regulations.
So this was a
taking
year
money
ago.
for personal
10 years
use,
ago, Rep.
using
Jason.
the money to
So 10 years ago, Rep. Jason Lewis was blowing the whistle on Somali daycare frauds in Minnesota.
set up a fraudulent child care client and then providing a kickback has been reported. This is a major issue. There are allegations that, well, not just several. You've got 23.
All right, so we know about this. There's tons of this stuff. We got to keep going.
I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you. You know what Denmark did recently to boost up security in Greenland? They added one more dog sled. It's true. They thought that was a great move.
What would the justification be for a claim to Greenland? What would the justification?
Oh, I don't want to talk about Greenland now. I just say this. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And the European Union needs us to have it. And they know that.
Yeah. More Venezuelan celebration. More Venezuelan celebration. It's just everywhere. More Venezuelan celebration. Millions of Venezuelans are celebrating the news of the collapse of the Maduro regime. This guy's pretty good. Gotta love it. I think we're almost through the important stuff.
Maduro, who I've met, is a dictator, plain and simple. The Venezuelan people need our support to recover their democracy and rebuild their country. I'll use sanctions as one of the tools for a comprehensive strategy that includes humanitarian assistance, international pressure, and support for democratic actors in Venezuela to force the regime to embark on the road to a free and fair election. We should be leading the international effort to confront the massive humanitarian crisis in Venezuela.
The Biden administration made a deal with Maduro. No one talks about this. He made a deal with Maduro. Here was the deal. Maduro asked that his nephews, convicted drug traffickers, be released from U.S. prisons. He asked that his chief money launderer, his money man, his bag man, be released from U.S. custody before he stood trial. In exchange, he promised to hold free and fair elections. He got the nephews back, the drug dealers. He got the bag man back, and he never did the free and fair elections. They stole the elections. They suckered Joe Biden. They're not going to sucker Donald Trump.
President Trump just announced on social media that Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, has been captured and flown out of the country.
And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it.
Yep. All right, moving on.
Dios puso a Trump ahí y lo puso para la libertad.
More Venezuelan. Love.
Minnesota's 5th Congressional District. And we called together this press conference in the wake of yesterday's article in the Minnesota Reformer about my opponent, Representative Omar. She paid her husband, Tim Minette, $3 million of campaign money. And the way her time in office has given his business access and credibility as they've misappropriated more than $1 million in money from South Dakota investors.
Yep. All right, what's this?
ID to vote?
Well, it depends upon what state you're in, if it's a photo ID or not, if you have an affidavit. You know, Maria, for years I've covered and investigated voter and election fraud cases here at Fox News, and you won't believe what we found. Take a look at this. These are absentee ballots that were faked. Prosecutors in Troy, New York said politicians simply stole elections by handing in fraudulent ballots that they filled out as real votes. The unsuspecting voters we talked to said they did not even know their votes were robbed.
Wow. Elon Musk is going all in on funding the Republican Party in the midterms.
There are 42 million people in this country that need food stamps on a weekly basis. And we're saying people deliberately instead of Americans, because most of the people that are on food stamps aren't even from this country.
Rob Finnerty, he's going to explain to us who in America is getting these food stamps.
45% of Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps. 42% of Somali immigrants. 34% of every immigrant from Iraq. 23% of Haitians. 59% of all illegal aliens are collecting food stamps.
There you go.
Meaning that most of them are getting food stamps from the U.S. government and the U.S. taxpayer are not even Americans. And we didn't know about any of this.
The overwhelming majority.
Multiple Minnesota judges are under fire for dismissing several recent Somali fraud cases. They are Judge Sarah West, Judge Amber Brennan, and Judge Hillary Calagiri. The Hennepin County judges, because of their decisions, have allowed millions in alleged Medicaid theft to go unpunished. For example, the Hennepin County jury unanimously convicted Somali migrant Abdul Fattah Yusuf on 6 counts of aiding theft by swindle in August after deliberating for just 4 hours. He stole $7.2 million from Medicaid. Jurors described the evidence as overwhelming, with the foreperson saying it was beyond a reasonable doubt based on financial.
Yep. All right. We got to be close to the top here. Nick Shirley?
These people are like, I saw something, someone's calling me like a PDF. They're saying all these crazy allegations. I'm like, hey, what sucks for them is they're never going to be able to get me. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I'm a virgin. I don't have sex with random girls.
Wow.
You're not going to catch me on no sexual allegation charges. I don't have any addictions. I don't have any vices. So what are these people going to get me for? They're done. I'm religious. I believe in God. I'm everything they hate. I
love that.
So what are they going to get me for?
Wow.
They can't get me for anything. Like, they're going to come after me for my personality or for a stunt I did in high school, maybe. That's maybe the best thing they could get me for, is for Nick Shirley being a young, reckless teenager, just like any other YouTube prankster. Go ahead. I don't care. Like, I have nothing to hide. Like, I literally have nothing to hide. So, like, I am going to become
remind
their
you,
worst
Donald
enemy.
Trump reposted
You're going to start
this.
seeing them using the slandering tactics, and it's just going to be comical for me because they can't get anything on me.
And by the way,
The way I've lived my life, and the way I do live my life is a matter-of-fact way. I have my morals. I have my principles. I surround myself with primarily just my family.
Funny that Donald Trump reposted that. Donald Trump, he probably reminds him of a young Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is, other than being a virgin, he doesn't drink. He's religious. He doesn't get involved in stuff that's, they try. That's why it doesn't stick, is they try to throw that stuff at Donald and it didn't stick either.
How did the poorest member of Congress become one of the richest members of Congress in just a few short years, and she wasn't even born here? Ilhan Omar is the key to unlocking everything with the Somali fraud. Ilhan Omar has said many times that she is here to represent the interests of Somalia, and that's exactly what she's done in Congress. But she's also represented her own interests. Ilhan Omar entered Congress in 2018 as the poorest members of Congress. She had a negative net worth, negative $65,000 due to student loan and credit card and car debt. You'll find that at $174,000 a year, if she saved every single penny, she'd be worth a couple $100,000 after she paid off her debt. But that's not the case. Ilhan Omar is insanely rich. She's worth $30 million. How did that happen? Two things: massive fraud and her shady-ass husband and his shady finances, inflating and ballooning exponentially Ilhan Omar's worth. Ilhan Omar passed the Meals Act in 2022. This is an act that majorly deregulated the federal government's oversight of meals programs for children. This is the same act that was used by her friends in Minneapolis in order to defraud the federal government of.
Yeah, we get the idea. She shouldn't be rich. More Venezuelan. See, Justin Randy Fine calls for an immediate halt to all immigration.
What are the changes that we need to make immediately in law, in your opinion, sir?
Well, I think immediately we need to stop it all legal immigration of any kind, because clearly it's out of control. People coming here on tourist visas, protesting the country, people claiming that they're refugees, but then scamming the system.
Yep, agreed. All right, what about this one?
Being awarded to Biden and Jorgensen's totals being awarded to Trump.
Oh, this
after gaining access to a forensic image of the Dominion election management system in Mason County, Colorado,
the votes.
IT experts demonstrate how easy it is to switch tens of thousands of votes from Trump to Biden in seconds by simply changing the index number next to each candidate's name.
This is a backdoor utility called SQL Server Management Studio that is actually installed on the image of the voting system.
So is it certified?
It is not on the list of certified software. What I'm going to do first, I'm just going to pull up the presidential results in Mesa County for that election. And here they are. You can see Biden has 31,000, Trump has 56,000. Okay, so I'm going to come up here now, and I'm going to make a quick change. Change that.
You changed that to a 2.
Yep. I'm changing Trump to a 1.
Okay.
And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to rerun the report. And there you go. Biden, 56,000, Trump, 31,000. So I just flipped the results of the election using a tool that's actually built into the voting system. And what I did is not even logged. There's no trace of what I just did now. For some reason, the logging of activities by a user that has the password are not retained.
In Pennsylvania on live TV, Trump had 1,690,589 votes, while Biden had 1,252,537 votes. The time was approximately 11:08 Eastern Standard Time. The next interval report shows Trump's votes decreasing to 1,670,631, and Biden's votes increasing to 1,272,495. The time is approximately 11:09 p.m. Live on CNN, exactly 19,958 votes were switched from Trump to Biden. This means Trump lost 39,916 votes.
Yep, I remember seeing that. I've been wondering why it hasn't been prosecuted. Yep. Let's see. 6 hours ago from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. 6 weeks ago, Senator Mark Kelly and 5 other members of Congress released a reckless and seditious video that was clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline. As a retired Navy captain who is still receiving a military pension, Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice. Excuse me. And the Department of War and the American people expect justice. Therefore, in response to Senator Mark Kelly's seditious statements and his pattern of reckless misconduct, the Department of War is taking administrative action against Mark E. Kelly, USN retired. The department has initiated retirement grade determination proceedings under 10 USC 137F, with reduction in his retired grade resulting in a corresponding reduction in retired pay. Whoopee, but at least something's being done. These actions are based on Captain Kelly's public statements from June through December 2025, in which he characterized lawful military operations as illegal and counseled members of the armed forces to refuse lawful orders. This conduct was seditious in nature and violated Article 133 and 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, to which Captain Kelly remains subject to as a retired officer receiving pay. Yeah. Would rather see him in jail than getting less pay. 6 hours ago, Trump posted Minnesota's corrupt governor will possibly leave office before his term is up. In any event, we will not be running. Will not be running again because he was caught red-handed, along with Ilhan Omar and others of his Somali friends, stealing tens of billions of taxpayer dollars. I feel certain the facts will come out, and they will reveal a seriously unscrupulous and rich group of slime balls. Governor Walz has destroyed the state of Minnesota, but others like Governor Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Kathy Hochul have done, in my opinion, an even more dishonest and incompetent job. No one is above the law. Nice. Make America great again. The incredible people of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District, who want to desperately get rid of Thomas Massie, the worst Republican congressman we have had in many years, gave us a mandate: make America great again. The person that will help us do the job right is Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, 5th generation Kentucky farmer, and American hero, Captain Ed Galrain, a true patriot. Pregnant women, do not use Tylenol unless absolutely necessary. Don't give Tylenol to your child for virtually any reason. Break up the MMR shot into 3 totally separate shots, not mixed. Take chickenpox shot separately. Take hepatitis B shot at 12 years old or older. And more importantly, take vaccine in 5 separate medical visits. I read that aloud because he wrote it as shouting. That's in all capitals. Apparently he believes very strongly about this advice. Good advice. President DJT. Let's see. Today, the Trump administration is proud to announce the United States of America's updated childhood vaccination schedule. This schedule is rooted in the gold standard of science and widely agreed upon by scientists and experts all over the world. Effective today, we will no longer require 72 jabs for our beautiful, healthy children. We are moving to a far more reasonable schedule where all children will only be recommended to receive 11 vaccinations of the most serious and dangerous diseases. Parents can still choose to give their children all of the vaccinations if they wish, and they will still be covered by insurance. However, the updated schedule finally aligns with the United States and other developed nations around the world. Congratulations to HH Secretary Bobby Kennedy, CDC Acting Director Jim O'Neill, FDA Commissioner Mary Macari, CMS Administration Dr. Ost, NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya, and all other medical experts and professionals who worked very hard to make this happen. Many Americans, especially the Maha moms, have been praying for these common sense reforms for many years. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And we have a nice little meme. A happy baby with 11 vaccinations, an unhappy baby surrounded by vaccinations. Yep. Let's see. And then that's it. We are done with Donald Trump. Let's move on to Elon Musk, because we've got an equally or longer amount of posts to go through. All right, so we left off with January 2nd, about here.
You'll see the biggest outcry is from the Democrats who are, they don't want the waste and fraud to be turned off because it is a gigantic magnet to attract illegal immigrants and have them stay in the country. And I mean, you see some of the crazy stuff, like where money from FEMA, which is meant, FEMA is an agency that's meant to take care of Americans in distress. And a bunch of their money was being sent to pay for luxury hotels in New York for illegal immigrants. And that was happening even after the president was elected, and even after he signed an executive order saying that needs to stop. So we actually made sure that that money did stop going, because it's outrageous that American taxpayer money is spent on luxury hotels for illegals. But you have to say, like, why was that being?
Yeah, we're gonna skip videos here too.
This was a scandal during the Obama USAID era. Now, we were running a number of rogue USAID operations in Cuba at the time. By the way, I have to say for the record, I'm no fan of the Cuban government. I'm not even weighing in on whether it's the right or wrong thing to do, in terms of regime change there, or, liberating people there from autocratic excess by that government. I'm simply showing the American people where your tax dollars are going and how these things are structured in order to systematically fool you and to fool Congress and to fool the White House. So, for example, this is, and I'll show a couple other things in a second here, but this is Zunzaneo. So if you just scroll for a second, we'll start with this, right? So it was an online social media. Just scroll up 1 second. We'll start at the top here. It was an online social networking microblogging service created by USAID and marketed to Cuban users. This was a Twitter knockoff. See, the background of this is 2009, 2014, that period. The State Department and USAID were gangbusters gung-ho on the promise of Arab Spring style social media revolutions to topple other governments. The Arab Spring was a Facebook revolution and a Twitter revolution. USAID pumped $1.2 billion in, and we sponsored these activist groups and these civil society organizations to learn how to use Facebook, learn how to use Twitter, learn how to use hashtags, learn how to coordinate street protests so that everyone knows where to go, what street to show up on,
so
what kind of slogans to use in order to create the pro-democracy predicate for it. But the problem was, at the time, Cuba did not allow U.S. social media in. So they said, so they're not allowing Twitter in. How can we get a...
Yeah, Fury, your point, you say, that there are both Dems and Republicans benefiting from the fraud going on with the Somalis because they oppose holding Omar and the Somalis accountable. Follow the money. That's one of the points that Elon made, is 90% went to Dems, but 10% went to Republicans. And those Republicans made it very difficult for him to do his job with Doge.
Twitter there, but without calling it Twitter, without making it look like it's coming from the U.S. So what they did is they took the exact same thing as Twitter. Same user interface, same like and retweet button. Zunzaneo is the Cuban slang word for hummingbird. So it means it's bird. It was the Twitter bird, the whole thing. But the whole trick about it was you have to make it look like it's coming from the Cubans if you're going to do this operation. So what you'll see is it began running. So this is 2010. This is right during the Arab Spring. And what you'll see is they took funds, millions of dollars of funds that were concealed as humanitarian funds designated for Pakistan. Now, I don't know if Joe or the audience, if you've looked at a map lately, but Pakistan is not exactly the next door neighbor of Cuba. Right? So, and this is the Wikipedia whitewashing, and we can get into the deeper layers of this, but contractors funded by USAID, I should note, the main contractor was Creative Associates International, who's a frequent one. It's CAI, not CIA, I promise. So they concealed in the budget from Senate, from Congress, from the White House National Security Council. They said that these were humanitarian funds for Pakistan. And then they ran that to their contractor, CAI, to, quote, set up a Byzantine system of front companies using Cayman Islands bank accounts and recruiting unsuspecting business executives who would not be told of the company's ties to the U.S. government, according to the AP. The private companies like Creative Associates International designed the network. The idea arose after they were given 500,000 stolen Cuban cell phones that were available on the black market. And then what you'll see if you scroll down is... Okay, the network, dubbed the Cuban Twitter, reached about 60,000 Cuban subscribers. The initiative appears to also have had a surveillance dimension, allowing a, quote, vast database of Cuban Zunzaneo subscribers, including gender, age, and receptiveness and political tendencies to be built, with the Associated Press noting such data could be used in the future for political purposes. By the way, these are all quotes from the internal documents, and we can go through that. The data would then be used for micro-targeting efforts towards anti- and pro-government users in Cuba. The developers aimed to, at first, use non-controversial content, such as sports and music, and hurricane updates, by the way. They used hurricane updates in the internal things. Basically a humanitarian front that if you sign up to this app, you'll know about natural disasters in the area. Meanwhile, what was the plan the whole time? Once they built up enough subscribers, they would begin to introduce political messages through social bots and encourage dissent in this astroturfing. There's a great Guardian write-up on this. If you go to Guardian Zunzaneo, so you can see how crazy. Just type in Zunzaneo smart mob.
Okay, we get the point. We got to start skipping some of these. We got a lot to get through. We really do. I don't know if we're going to make it in an hour. So this is interesting. This is from Elon Musk. Silence of the Lambs was literally about a trans serial killer who wanted to become a woman by wearing their skin. So he reposted this, responded to Diana Alistair. A study from 1988 found that 54% of sex killers investigated were transvestites. Other studies have found a transvestism rate of 40% among sexually sadistic murderers, a high frequency of gender dysphoria in sexual homicide predators, and a link between gender dysphoria and sexual sadism. I think this alone should be enough to not even encourage to not even suffer, not even humor gender dysphoria by the severe amount of killers that are involved. Yikes. Shocking. Hungary reveals the real migration is allowed in Europe. It's a replacement of native-born voters. This is the left's plan. This has been a common theme for days about how the left is trying to gain power by immigration. See, that's probably one of the most amazing charts about the U.S. ever. How did this happen? Americans held in per 100,000 adults, mental hospitals. So prisons went up, mental hospitals went down. Progress. So Starlink, we're going to skip those. There are two possibilities. Either this outfit fraudulently received $4.6 million in taxpayer funds, or it legitimately received $4.6 million in funds. Neither is acceptable. Unreal. Many child care centers incorporated with a Mako child care sign. Huh. So true. Grok Imagine. There's a lot of Grok Imagine because they pushed an update. We're going to skip almost all of them. Why is the Overton window shifting so fast right now? Because it was held back by force. If you suppress an organic debate with censorship and violence, it will explode as soon as people lose fear. We are no longer afraid. Your time is over. Yeah, thanks to Elon Musk buying Twitter. Elon Musk building his first startup, Zip. So this was interesting, worth listening to.
Zip2, a California company that provides online access to information about cities around the country. Everything from where to eat to how to get around. The company's chief engineer and founder is 27-year-old Elon Musk.
And how old were you when you started
Look how young he is.
This company, or what became this company?
23.
Same laugh.
It's a classic Silicon Valley story. Before there was the vintage Jaguar,
this was before he was a
the
minimalist.
six-figure salary, the cute dog, and the nice house to share with the pretty girlfriend, there was the $200 a month office with the leaky roof.
It was just the nastiest place you can imagine.
And you lived in it too?
And I lived in it too and showered at the YMCA.
Take us back to when you really started all of this.
Well, that was the summer of '95. I had no money whatsoever.
I think this has got to be the basis for the clothed and sackcloth part of the two witnesses, because he learned to sacrifice early for the betterment of, in this case, businesses, but his ultimate goal is for the betterment of mankind. This has been a common thread. Even today, he lives in a tiny home.
Doing research in Silicon Valley on a completely different subject and trying to start this company at the same time. And when it came time to decide, do I want to do graduate studies or do I want to start this company? And I decided to start the company. I had no money.
As a graduate student, I would have received a scholarship and a stipend and so forth. In starting the company, I had nothing. I had no income source. So we found that an office was actually cheaper than an apartment in Silicon Valley. So we got this dinky little office that had a leaky roof. It was just the nastiest place you can imagine.
And you lived in it too?
And I lived in it too and showered at the YMCA. This lasted for about 3 or 4 months. And the reason we chose
Oddly enough, that's actually still true today. Before we got the studio that we're in right now, we were looking for space, and it is cheaper to rent an office than it is to rent a place to live.
This office, in addition to it being really cheap, was that there was an internet service provider on the floor on the floor below. So we were able to get really cheap internet access by drilling a hole in the floor and connecting to their server directly.
This industry is so young, and we don't really know where it's going. But
this is interesting. His prediction for the future.
What do you see as the future of the internet?
I think the internet is the superset of all media. It is the be-all and end-all of media. One will see print, broadcast, arguably radio, essentially all media folding into the internet. And what the internet amounts to is it's the first two-way communication medium that is intelligent. It allows consumers to choose what they want to see, when they want to see it, and whether that be radio, whether that be print, whether that be television, broadcast. I think it's going to revolutionize all traditional media.
Now Musk has his own computer command center, and his business is thriving. To his delight, Microsoft has tried and so far failed to get a hold in Zip2's market.
You always keep an eye on them, though.
You bet.
Yeah, it's amazing to see where we are with technology today, and that, you know, this, I can only assume that God needed this level of technology to facilitate the return of his son. Grok stuff.
Some people out there may be somewhat skeptical. They may think, well, that there isn't some Democrat plan to subvert democracy and achieve a permanent one-party, deep blue socialist state. And I assure you, the more you research it, the more you will see it is true. Biden was simply asleep at the switch. He was ineffective regarding illegal immigration. No, he was highly effective at ushering in millions of illegal immigrants with a specific game plan to naturalize them and ensure that there would be no swing states in America anymore. Often the margin of victory, there will be 20 or 30,000 votes. So if you bring in 200,000 illegals, which will overwhelmingly vote for the Democrats, then that swing state becomes permanently blue. Then you have the House, the Senate, the presidency. Some people out there may be somewhat skeptical.
Yep.
There's a thing that happens over time with any given civilization, which is that the laws and regulations accumulate, and if there's not some forcing function like a war to clean up the accumulation of laws and regulations, eventually everything becomes legal, and that's like the hardening of the arteries, or a way to think of it is like being tied down by a million little strings, like Gulliver. You can't move. And it's not like any one of those strings is the issue. You got a million of them. So there has to be a sort of a garbage collection for laws and regulations, so that you don't keep accumulating laws and regulations to the point where you can't do anything. This is why we can't build high-speed rail in America. It's illegal. That's the issue. It's illegal 6 ways to Sunday to build high-speed rail in America.
I wish you could just for a week go into Washington and be the head of the committee for making, for the garbage collection, making government smaller, removing stuff.
I have discussed with Trump the idea of a government efficiency commission.
Nice. Yeah.
And I would be willing to be part of that commission.
I wonder how hard that is.
The antibody reaction would be very strong.
Yes.
He was not wrong about that.
So you really have to, you're attacking the Matrix at that point. The Matrix will fight back.
The Matrix did fight back. That is true. That is for sure. Let's see. Straight to point independent journalism will dominate 2026. How CBS executives blocked the Hunter Biden story.
Elections in 2022. We commissioned a forensic review. I got a copy of the laptop data. I have it here still. I went to a lot of effort to get the cleanest copy of the laptop data, the same data that was provided to the FBI, because I didn't want to have any professional journalistic risk for CBS News. I wanted this thing to be totally locked down. When we did the story, we did it after the midterms. I argued against that because it was ready before the midterms. And my training is that you should always do the story when it's ready to go. You should not be dictated by the political cycle. Once we got the laptop story on the morning news, I felt that there was so much there that we could still do. For example, in the text messages, there's unfortunately the use of the N-word, the liberal use of the N-word. And I thought this.
So she just basically goes through. So she does this 24-minute report, and this is a short section of it, explaining how she went through and tried to find points to do a story on, and they just kept killing the story.
Essentially, it's basically a communications bridge.
So here, Elon's talking about Neuralink is just communications bridge. So they hope to restore full body functionality with Neuralink. That was that post. This one is take a photo of your blood work and send it to Grok, and it will tell you things that your doctor probably won't even pick up on. Let's see. This is criticizing that Mom Donnie can do the my heart goes out to you, and nobody calls him a Nazi, but when Elon does it, they call him a Nazi.
My heart goes out to you.
He even said it. My heart goes out to you. He didn't say Heil Trump. He said my heart goes out to you. All right.
AI model to be grounded in reality.
This is important.
I was saying, which is like physics is the law and everything else is a recommendation. I'm not suggesting people break the laws made by humans. We should generally obey the laws of humans, but I've seen many people break human-made laws, but I have not seen anyone break the laws of physics. So for any given AI, grounding it against reality, and reality, for example, as you mentioned, with the car, it needs to drive safely and correctly. The humanoid robot Optimus needs to perform the task that it's being asked to perform. These are things that are very, very helpful for ensuring that the model is truthful and accurate, because it has to adhere to the laws of physics. So I think that's actually maybe somewhat overlooked, or at least not talked about enough, is that to really be intelligent, it's got to make predictions that are in line with reality, in other words, physics. It's incredibly.
So what he's talking about here with the training models is the importance in the base training, because ultimately right now, as it stands, AI models are just databases. So the information that they return is really important. And somebody had asked me to expand on how AI could be the image of the beast. And in short, the beast is a government. It's a system ruled by laws, decree, and force. And if you build something that is the image of that, and you give it life, meaning you give it control over those things, life, liberty, and rule by force. If you put an artificial intelligence in charge of, let's say, the justice system, and it is responsible for applying justice equally, and that it's blind, like the American justice system, to where it doesn't rule by emotion, but it rules by algorithm. The algorithm that you feed into that system is vitally important. So if you have an AI that's trained on Sharia law, that's what it's going to try and enforce. If you have an algorithm that's based on the same rules that resulted in the death of many Christians, like the Roman Catholic Church through its early years, that's what it's going to do. This is the danger of the project Starlink, and these various countries that are racing to have the best AI. And I think why Elon Musk has put his foot into the race is because it's vitally important that you have the base correct. I I think he's probably slowing down the progress. In a lot of ways, he's probably inventing the tools that are going to be used for this image of the beast. But ultimately, that's what we're probably looking at, is we're probably going to get to a place and time where the governments around the world, and maybe there's a universal, maybe this is something that's implemented by the UN. On Friday, we talked about the special powers that the UN has, where the Security Council can declare an emergency, which awards them special powers to activate military forces. I did a little bit of research on this on Friday. A lot of it seems as though there's myths. I don't know if there's, military forces embedded in the various countries, but I could see that being one way that a one world government could kind of take control. I imagine that this will probably happen naturally with whoever is the next president of the United States. To where, like the way that Joe Biden gave away the United States of America to illegal immigrants, the next president, if we're not able to defend against their tactics with the immigration, the next president of the United States will very likely give control back over to someone else, which they could implement some kind of ruling system that is ruled by artificial intelligence. And all they have to do is choose the model that's trained on the type of law they want to enforce. And then that's where you see the mark of the beast. This is why I don't believe the mark of the beast has to actually be a mark. It could be what you believe. Can you imagine if you have an artificial intelligence responsible for enforcing Sharia law? What you believe is going to be very important. What you do and say is going to be very important, especially if you live in an area that's dominated by cameras that can hear what you say or record what you say. Very dystopian in its the way that it will work. And then you can see how that would prevent you from buying and selling, where if you have everything controlled by artificial intelligence. I think this is what a lot of people are afraid of. I don't know if as far as the timeline, we're well on track with 2026 and 2027. I know Elon Musk was able to build he was able to build Grok in 19 days. Jensen Huang talks about that being a miracle that only Elon can accomplish. So if you imagine other countries capable of accomplishing what Elon did, even if they take 6 months to do it, it's a very real possibility. It would not surprise me if Donald Trump and his work with Starlink doesn't get handed over to whoever takes over the administration after him. And that administration is the one that enforces some kind of religious belief. And then you get massive persecution again. Twitter is just going to keep doing this weird thing. Okay, we're going to start at the top and work our way down, see how far we can get. Because it just wants to keep going back. You notice Elon changed his posts to an American flag. All right, so his pinned post for the day is, yes, a massive scale. It is the biggest vote-buying fraud scheme in the history of America. So Kevin Bass crunched the data again. He made a map. The states without voter ID requirements are 16 times more likely to offer welfare benefits to illegal immigrants than states requiring ID. Yikes. Pay to play. Pay to win. That's how they keep their power. Okay, we're going to skip the Grok stuff. I can confirm public speculation that Ambassador Abukar Dahir Osman, permanent representative of Somalia to the UN and president of the Security Council, is in fact associated with Progressive Healthcare Services, a home health agency in Cincinnati. HHS has previously taken action against Progressive in response to convictions for Medicaid. Interesting. So, like I was talking about with interesting that he is a permanent member of the Security Council, which has that power. I did learn, and I don't know if this is true, but in my research, I did learn that the United States, which is a permanent member of the UN, does retain its ability to veto those emergency powers or anything that the UN would try to enact. Whether they can maintain that, if they're the only ones left, they could easily override the United States, but as far as I understand it, the United States still has veto power. All right, we're going to get scrap. We're going to skip a bunch of stuff. Governor Walz made the difficult decision to focus on his job and the challenges facing our state rather than campaigning and running for re-election. Bill Ackman says Governor Walz has provided oversight over one of the largest and most pervasive frauds in our country's history. As such, he is not only not electable, he likely needs time to prepare for his defense for the potential criminal charges he may face. Grok Imagine, Grok, Tesla. Oh, gotta love the memes. We'll play some memes. All right, those are pretty good. Grok Imagine. Minnesota's corrupt governor will possibly leave office before his term is up. So this is a repost from Donald Trump. In any event, we will not be running. Oh, we already read this. We read this on Donald Trump's posts. Welcome to Minneapolis. This is just another person doing what Nick Shirley did, to where this is an adult health care home where she's trying to verify that they're providing services.
Is where a restaurant, Safari restaurant, used to operate, but they are now closed down because during the 2019 COVID pandemic, they were involved in the Feeding Our Future fraud, which scammed the government out of.
So Fury is saying there's breaking news. There's gunfire near the presidential palace in Venezuela right now, and they are suspecting that people have staged a coup. Drones are over Venezuela, not Iran. This is all breaking news. Thank you, Fury. See what I can find.
Of hundreds of millions of dollars because they were claiming to feed children. We're here in Cedar Riverside because I came to see if Palmer's Bar has turned into a mosque yet, and I just happened to park right in front of a home daycare. I'm just wondering if the mosque has already moved in. It just looks completely empty. Here you can see that it no longer says Palmer's Bar. This was a place that was around for more than 100 years. But because of some bad decisions of the management, they got in a lot of debt, and then they felt forced to sign a purchase agreement with the mosque
he's not
next
go
door.
Around saying, I won't do
Behind
this, I won't
me
do that.
is
Yes,
where
I care
a
about
restaurant,
this issue,
Safari
but I'll
restaurant,
only go so
used to operate, but they are now closed down because during the 2019.
This is what I found.
Retains all this optionality.
So that's a. Yeah, I don't have my regular producer on here. So folks, if you have questions, I don't know if we have any mods on at all or anything, because I kind of went live suddenly because this was breaking news. So if there's craziness going on in the comments, I'm sorry about that. And if there are questions, and that we do have a mod online, whether it's Mama Rissa or anybody else. Oh, I see One Tired Mama is online. I don't know. I don't think you can actually star those One Tired Mama. So I will have to go through these comments and try to answer your questions. So let's get to that because again, now
fast forward here.
There have been breaking news in Caracas that we're hearing about here. Take a listen. This is from Caracas, Venezuela. So that was armored vehicles moving through the streets. Now we have this.
Well, probably going to have to put boots on the ground now.
Funny, she's there's gunfire in the streets, and she's telling her dog to quit barking. That's funny. So gunfire and anti-aircraft fire all over the place in Caracas tonight, especially near the presidential palace, which led some people to wonder if there was a coup attempt underway right now. This is a photograph from right around the presidential palace. It has now been surrounded by Venezuelan forces. And that's apparently something maybe Maduro should have thought to do a few days ago and not now, but better late than never. This is, I'm going to get to what the cause of all this is in just a second. I just want to keep showing you what we're seeing on the ground in Caracas. Check this out. This is a, this particular Venezuelan armored vehicle is called a rhinoceros. It's just a 4x4 troop transport, and it has been used for crowd control. How do I know that? Because I saw some of these a couple of years ago when there was an uprising against Nicolas Maduro being used to run over protesters.
Yep.
So these vehicles are multi-use vehicles. They can run over protesters, and they can also rush to protect the interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, who is probably hiding in her safe room at this point. President Trump obviously has made it clear that the United States is going to control what's happening in Venezuela, but we're not in control just yet. And
you can just see all the stuff leading to February
in Caracas tonight is more proof of that. Now, we're going to see. A lot of people think this was another American raid. These are troops on the ground that are clearing the streets. I've got another one here. It's not very good quality, but it shows troops. Troops clearing empty streets around Miraflores Palace. And the guy in the blue is just kind of standing there. I just wonder, like, who's that guy? He's just watching, just some old guy standing out on the street. Like, what are you guys with guns doing out here? So, yeah, that's what's happening in Caracas right now. And I'll just save you if you're wondering what the heck is going on, so is everybody in Caracas. And as it turns out, the word is now on the street that all of that fighting, all of the gunfire, all of the, craziness going on, people running around with guns and all that, is simply due to some kid flying a commercial drone over Caracas tonight. We're talking about a commercial drone, like a DJI drone, not a big, Predator drone. We're talking about a surveillance, the camera drone, like I carry. I've got one in my bag right now. And it was some kid flying a drone. There's already memes coming out about it because after the United States came out and said, we didn't have anything to do with it, we're keeping an eye on it, but we're not involved in any way in what's going on in Caracas.
Okay.
And they just spent millions of dollars on anti-aircraft bullets and stuff, just firing them up in the air because they thought it was another full-scale invasion or something. Well, that actually was not the case. That actually did not happen. Now,
well, there you go. We'll leave it there and get back to Elon. All right, moving on. Oh boy, we got to bust through this. This is the funny new meme that's going through the internet. The cat's working on electricity, turning into puffballs. That one is super cute. This is a daycare. Let's see. You can't make this up. Creative Minds Daycare was shut down, and the next day became Super Kids Daycare. Breaking up to 2,000 federal agents are now set up to surge to Minneapolis to arrest illegal aliens and investigate massive fraud. Right on. Or Grok, Tim Waltz. I don't know if this is this AI or is this legit, where Waltz replaced the Minnesota flag with a Somali flag.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
Wow. Unbelievable. Who does that? Isn't that technically treason?
There, that's better. All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
That's got to be AI. So hard to tell these days. I don't know. James Wood. Love James Woods. What does he say?
I think it's the biggest scam of all time.
This is not something you ever sought out to do.
The biggest scam of all time, ever.
Of human history.
Of human history, yes.
Wow.
I think he's talking about
NGOs.
You're right. Yeah.
What else
it's
could
probably
be better?
$1 trillion scam. There's never been $1 trillion scam. I think it's the biggest.
This is from an interview that was quite a while ago, a couple of months at this point. I think he's referring to the NGO scams that they discovered while he was doing Doge. Nick Shirley talking about another daycare that received $2.5 million. This is one of the daycare owners, Smalley daycare owner running in Minnesota. And he's now running for Congress as a Democrat. Yeah, he's got the money to run now. His daycare paid for him. Yep. This is a listing of a location of the auditing firm that performed the audits for both Minnesota and Ohio on NGOs. The Juba Value Center. Geez, theory of mind. Grok AI. This is that lady. Seems like we could just spend a week at Disneyland, the test for U.S. entry. The insanity of all this is that foreign family visiting Disneyland for a week has to prove hotel booking, return flights, enough money for the entire stay, and a stable job back home, and that is for a few days. You would assume that the bar for people who want to stay forever would be much higher. Instead, it effectively does not exist at all. This is a complete inversion of basic logic. That's funny. Breaking. Governor Tim Walz announces he is dropping out of the governor's race, mentions Nick Shirley in his statement. Elon says, put the flag of Minnesota back. Maybe it wasn't AI, or he's just continuing the joke. Great quote from Cicero. So this is from Frederick Lundberg. A nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and he carries his banners openly, but the traitors move among those within the gates freely. His sly whispers rustling through all the galleys, heard in the very hall of government itself. For the traitor appears not traitor. He speaks in the accents familiar to his victims and wears their face and their garments. And he appeals to the baseness that lies deep in the hearts of all men. He rots the souls of a nation. He works secretly and unknown in the night to undermine the pillars of a city. He enacts the body politic so that it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to be feared. Wow.
Major breaking political news out of St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
So
Tim Walz.
That's just Tim Walz dropping out. More memes. Trump giving FAFO hat to Maduro. Let's see. I'm prejudiced as a historian, but I'd say we have to start teaching the history and traditions of the West again and put a stop to the West's current mood of self-hatred. Elon agrees. Let's see. Christina Hoff Summers. I totally agree for decades. So in response to I'm prejudiced. Okay, yeah. Same post. I totally agree for decades. Our schools have focused on the moral failings of the West. Students learn little about the West's far more numerous and spectacular moral achievements. This imbalance has created a dangerous ethical illiteracy. Very true.
No matter how many surgeries you have or chemicals you inject, if you're born with male DNA in every cell of your body, you can never become a woman. You're not going to be a woman.
That's right. You can change the hormones that can change you can change the development, but you can't change your DNA entirely. That is true.
No, you're wrong in your question. Number one, Venezuela is a major source, and the reason why is the following. And I've seen a lot of this reporting, and it's fake reporting, and I'll tell you why. It says that somehow Venezuela is not involved in the drug trade because the UN says they're not involved in the drug. I don't care what the UN says. The UN doesn't know what they're talking about. Maduro is indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York. That means the Southern District of New York presented the evidence to a grand jury, and a grand jury indicted him. And then a superseding indictment came out that was unsealed about 1.5 years ago that specifically detailed Maduro's actions. So number one, let there be no doubt, Nicolas Maduro is an indicted drug trafficker in the United States, and he's a fugitive of American justice.
I don't know when it happened. I'm just commenting on that video we watched. From Sam's Ashworth Hayes, actually small numbers of skilled craftsmen move around Europe in the 13th century, so you have no right to object to paying for an infinite stream of unemployment. What? Migrants are the heart of our art. What is this? Of our art, our music, our whole history. That's what the right won't admit to you. Error. Actually, small numbers of skilled craftsmen moved around Europe in the 13th. Oh, so he's correcting this opinion, saying a small number of craftsmen moved around Europe in the 13th century. So you have no right to object to paying for an infinite stream of unemployed boat migrants. More Grok stuff. Was that Maduro in jail with P. Diddy? They took my oil. In most cases, it's a phase or it's social. Let's see. Most gender-confused children grow out of it. Landmark 15-year study concludes, as critics say, it shows being trans is usually just a phase for kids. Yep. Audio only. Somalians are ripping off our country to the tune of it looks like $19 billion. But that's only what they can find. Every one of them should be forced to leave this country. Yikes. A lot of made with Grok stuff. What is this? Anything new?
YouTube, people go to get informed. X, they go to get their news. And TikTok, they go to get entertained. And so when you post on X, you have no cap on how many impressions you can get. On YouTube, it's very hard to get a video over 1 million, especially get one over 5 million. And good luck ever getting a video over 100 million. On X, you can simply just upload, and then it can get shared to everyone. And the most powerful people in the world use X.
That was an interesting point that you made, which is billionaires are probably not going to be spending 40 minutes watching a documentary on YouTube. And so even if your video got 4 million views on YouTube, the 100 million views that you got on X, you're going to have a different caliber of viewers there that, will not spend all the time trying to do the deep dives into research because their time is spent, running billion-dollar companies.
Yeah, so they're simply like on their breaks or when they're doing stuff or in their office, they're just, all right, let's get the quick news, what's happening for today, what's Trump saying, and boom, it's just right there instantly.
We got to post on X.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I agree. We
got to post on X. What opportunities have risen for you for posting on X?
Yeah, I think X, like I said, it's the place where people go get their news. So for me, I've been able to reach different audiences. For instance, on YouTube, I'm not going to reach an audience of people that are literally like trying to make the change in the United States. You're getting more consumers and less producers. The producers are on X. The people that are making the changes in the world, they're on X. You have the crypto people, they're on X. You have the AI people, they're on X. The government, they're on X. So you have all the most powerful people literally getting information from people just like me who are posting on X.
Do you make money on X?
You don't. That's the problem with X. You don't make that much money. However, the opportunities that you could get could lead to more money as far as like people then when they go to YouTube and they see your thumbnail, then they click on your video because it gives your face more recognition. It's just like posting on TikTok. You don't make that much money posting on TikTok, but then when they go to YouTube and they see your face, they then click on the button.
Interesting. Had a lovely dinner last night with POTUS and FLOTUS. 2026 is going to be amazing. God, I love seeing these two together again. Super exciting. Elon Musk on why space solar is essential for the Kardashev progress. We don't really need to listen to that. He basically wants to generate more power in space because it makes sense. Grok. So much grok. Passion flicks. That's him promoting his sister. Or no, that is actually his sister, Tosca Musk. Chat, Grok. Apocalypse meow. Grok Imagine is the best meme generator. Starlink. More grok. Oh, good. Maybe we will actually make it through. These memes are hilarious. Let's see. Massive volume, maybe as high as 10,000 ships per year. SpaceX. More memes. Maduro and Diddy. Another major grok Imagine improvement coming end of month. Well said. What does she say?
States military into Venezuela last night to kidnap Maduro and his wife to somewhere. We don't know where they are. We don't know if they're alive. And now Trump has announced that the U.S. is going to temporarily take over control and operations of Venezuela.
White liberals in America are complaining about Nicolas Maduro while Venezolanos in Venezuela are out celebrating that their dictator is gone. If this doesn't tell you how evil and disturbed white liberals in America are, I don't know what will. They're willing to allow an entire country to be exploited as long as it fits their political agenda and goes against Trump. Think about that. Nicolas Maduro publicly rigged elections, killed his own people, had actual re-education camps, made anybody who opposed him disappear. And this is who they're defending now. Believe me, I was worried when Trump said that the United States would oversee the transition of power in Venezuela. But here's a reality that no one wants to admit. Maduro didn't just destroy Venezuela. He destroyed the entire system of checks and balances. He replaced the courts, institutions, everything with loyalists. This isn't one bad leader. This is a government gutted from within. Because of this, if we don't step in, the people who committed the corruption will be the exact same ones choosing who investigates it. The power is not going to return to the people. It'll just rotate to another loyalist from the same corrupt machine. But when these people say stay out, they're not saying stay out because it benefits Venezuelans or they care about what happens to them, because clearly Maduro was the worst thing that could have happened to him. Maduro was getting rich while starving his own people. A credible transition isn't about America controlling Venezuela. It's about preventing a total collapse. It's about less violence, fewer mass migrations, and giving Venezolanos a chance to stay in the country they love instead of being forced to flee from it. Scrutinize everything. Go ahead. Absolutely. I encourage it. But pretending that walking away fixes anything, that's how failed states stay failed states.
Amen. So much grok. Somali fraudsters got luxury digs, beachside resorts, rented Rolls Royces, and Lamborghinis with stolen funds. We already watched this one earlier. Elon Musk. Couldn't think of anything more exciting.
I couldn't think of anything more exciting and more fun and more inspiring for the future than to have a base on Mars. And it will be incredibly difficult, and probably lots of people will die, terrible and great things will happen along the way, just as happened in the formation of the United States. But it'll be one of those things that is incredibly inspiring, and we must have inspiring things in the world. Life cannot just be about solving, this problem or that problem. There must be things that, when you wake up in the morning, you're glad to be alive. And that, I think, is, for me, the most important reason why we should pursue the establishment of life on Mars.
Agreed. Just in, the fake news is furious after video spreads of countless major cities being flooded with real Venezuelans who love what Donald Trump just pulled off with Maduro. The white Democrat who loves Maduro is clueless. Freedom is ringing. Spain, Venezuela, Argentina, Times Square, New York, and Miami. What does Jensen got to say?
I think what Elon and the X team did, what they achieved is singular. Never been done before. Just to put in perspective, 100,000 GPUs, that's easily the fastest supercomputer on the planet. That's one cluster. A supercomputer that you would build would take normally 3 years to plan.
Right.
And then they deliver the equipment, and it takes 1 year to get it all working.
Yes.
We're talking about 19 days. I think what Elon and the X team did.
Yeah, which I think is indicative of when they actually build the image of the beast and give it life. Probably not 19 days, but 6 months, couple of months. They could almost be there right now.
this way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the president of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy contagious way, but it's true.
Such a good speech. Venezuela used to be much wealthier than Poland, which was suffering under socialism. Then Poland implemented free market and capitalist principles and enjoyed an economic boom. Venezuela chose socialism, which brought poverty and misery to its people. Yeah, that's what happens. There is no successful socialist communist country right now. They all end in slavery. It's all the difference in the world. Protesters who are paid should be required to disclose that they are being paid and by whom. Protesters are political speech advertising. Why are they exempt from the same disclosures required for political advertising? Interesting point. Agreed. 4 protesters in 4 different states. Yep. Let's see. We now have confirmed and finalized homicide rates for El Salvador in 2025, 1.19. 38% of about 75% lower than the rates in Canada and the U.S., respectively, in 2024. This even beats some European countries. Nice. That's what happens when you lock up criminals. Interesting. What's this?
Once we heard the news, conferring with each other, conferring with other organizers, and by 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning, we put out the call for demonstrations to happen today, Saturday, January 3rd, less than 12 hours after the bombing and kidnapping of the president of Venezuela. You have tens of thousands of people. I think we're in a watershed moment, epic moment, and we should just be raging. We should be angry. We should be in the streets. It's a class war. It's a global war. It's an anti-imperialist war. More than 100 cities on less than 12 hours notice. That's a harbinger of what's coming. We had a demonstration in Washington, and the 50-51 folks were having a demonstration time for the same day. And as a lot of the 50-51 people came past our protest site, and it was against the genocide in Gaza, people stopped for a second and they said, oh no, this isn't our demonstration. We're going to the other one. And off they went. Today, in the early morning of January 3rd, hours after the Answer Coalition and others called these demonstrations today, 50-51 immediately wanted to collaborate. They were saying, we want to co-host this today. The reason the demonstrations went from like 60 at 10 o'clock this morning to like 100 by 11:30 was because of the entrance of these other organizations that have been struggling against Trump, but on more or less on domestic issues. So it's really very, very promising.
With us once again on the show, Manolo de los Santos, who's the executive director of the People's Forum and also a researcher with the Tricontinental Institute for Social Research. Manolo.
The U.S. is actually a rogue state, that the U.S. has no respect for the UN Charter, has no respect for international law.
Dr. Vijay Prashad, the executive director of the Tricontinental Institute.
He's an extremely humble man. He is a reluctant politician, and I feel terribly for him as a person. There is nothing in his character that suggests this kind of treatment. Lots of people on the left will turn their back on Nicolas Maduro Moro and Celia Flores, and I refuse to do so.
Wow. Yeah, the liberal left are idiots. Well, it's funny, a lot of those images were showing them celebrating with mega hats. Let's see. More grok. The glory of the West lies not in the monuments or machines, but in its men who dared to strive, who held struggle as sacred, and who treated history as a proving ground. Our greatness was never granted. It was taken by those who refused. And then Hunter Ash responded, We are those who do not kneel. We challenge, we conquer. We are Prometheus. We are the nation that produces 1,000 Icaruses until one survives. We will plant our flag on every piece of rock in the universe that can hold one because we dare to try. Nice. Grok Imagine. More Grok Imagine. One day. Full self-driving. Grok Imagine. So much Grok Imagine posts. Ex-Venezuelans are crying on their knees, thanking Trump for America.
Gracias a los Estados Unidos por liberarnos. Y viva la libertad. Oye, el dictador cayó. Finalmente. Estamos libres, estamos libres. Viva Venezuela libre. Gracias, Dios. Gracias. Oye, el dictador cayó finalmente. Granadito, hermano, esto es real. Estamos libres. Mira, mira cómo está la gente. ¡Viva Venezuela libre! Gracias a Dios, esto es para todos los que aguantaron, se logró. Estamos libres finalmente. Gracias, Donald Trump.
Readers added context they thought people might want to know. This video is AI generated. It is currently being presented as a factual statement intended to mislead people. Oh, interesting. God, AI is getting so hard to distinguish. Good Lord. Let's see. We take action against illegal content on X, including child sexual abuse material, CSAM, by removing it, permanently suspending accounts, and working with local governments and law enforcement as necessary. Good. Send files. Grok. Just in, President Trump is posing Elon Musk right now. The boys are back. Is posting Elon Musk right now. Sweet. Geez, are we actually gonna get out of here now? Grok for the win. So much Grok. January 3rd, as humanity is freed from darkness, people will see the truth and rejoice. Grok. What about this one?
I just want to talk to you, America, and I hope you have your coffee when I tell you this, but these are great news. All eyes on Venezuela. These are historical news. This is history in the making. It really is. My chest.
Nice. No message on that one. It is heartwarming to see so many Venezuelans celebrating their country freed from a brutal tyrant. I got to believe that a lot of these have to be true, because right after the announcement, I saw the news covering the people in the street. I can't imagine the AI fake videos were coming out that quickly. Eric Trump, the FAFO era continues from President Trump. The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike. Oh, we already read that. In case you missed the announcement after they captured
Nicolas
him,
Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around, and he found out.
Effed around.
President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people, deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us, and deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people.
You know, language like that, it reminds me of for when they say peace and safety. Maybe that's February 17th.
This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026. Nicolas Maduro.
Welcome to 2026. Long overdue prosperity is coming to these people.
Le queremos dar gracias a Dios por su milagro. A los que no dejan de creer que Dios es grande.
He's crying because he's happy that Maduro was arrested. This is how the U.S. military feels about Elon Musk.
Its founder, CEO, and chief engineer of SpaceX and CEO of Tesla, Mr. Elon Musk.
Nice. See, I'm a citizen of the United States and have only that passport. No matter what happens, I will fight for and die in America. Okay. Anything else? Geez, we might actually get out of here in a decent time. Boom, mic drop from Marco Rubio. What does he say?
Foreign policy, the State Department is not its own government. Okay? The Secretary of State is not its own government. I'm appointed by the President, confirmed by the Senate, and then, or nominated by the President, confirmed by the Senate, and then appointed by the President. But at the end of the day, the person the people of the United States elected to be the President of the United States and the Commander-in-Chief is Donald J. Trump. That's who they elected. And my job, and the job of the people in our administration, is to implement the President's foreign policy. We provide advice, we provide counsel, but ultimately our job is to take what the President wants to do, come up with options for implementing the President's vision. That's my job today. When I was a senator, I represented the state of Florida. Today, I am the Secretary of State for Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, and my job is to implement the President's foreign policy, provide advice, provide counsel, provide ideas, provide for opportunities and ways in which his foreign policy can be implemented. But in the end, our job is to implement that. And why people think that somehow foreign policy can be divorced from our republic? That's not the way our Constitution works. The Constitution does not say you elect the President of the United States and then you put in place a State Department to undermine the President if the person who's the Secretary of State doesn't agree with him. That's ridiculous. That's stupid, really. And I don't know why anybody would think that. So that's the job I have, and that's the job I'm proud to do. I think we've made a lot of progress. We have a lot more work to do. All right, on our row right there, the foreign policy.
Better together when we work together. Rubio realizing he's going to be president of Venezuela, governor of Cuba, and the Shah of Iran. Elon Musk says, I support this 100%. What is this?
Tenga la seguridad el pueblo del Salvador que...
Let's see, that no middle sum, no puppet of imperialism like this Bukele character will separate the people of El Salvador and Venezuela. We will remain united. Beckel, if you mess with us, you will wither away. Bukele will wither. Okay, I don't get it. Oops. Oh, so is that like him before and after? This one day, this the next day, up in chains on the boat on the Iwo Jima. Let's see, Nicolas Maduro on board the U.S. Iwo Jima. Congratulations, President Trump. This is a win for the world and a clear message to evil dictators everywhere. Yep. God bless the United States military. Maduro is not the president of Venezuela, and his regime is not the legitimate government. Maduro is the head of the cartel de los Soles, a narco-terror organization which has taken possession of a country, and he is under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States. Elon Musk agrees and says this is true. J.D. Vance saying the president offered multiple off-ramps, but was very clear throughout this process. The drug trafficking must stop and the stolen oil must be returned to the United States. Maduro is the newest person to find out that President Trump means what he says. Kudos to our brave special operators who pulled off a truly impressive operation. Yep. All right, what's this one? Jaw-dropping truth from Stephen Miller.
It for your audience perfectly, Sean. This was not a loophole. The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then...
We already watched that. Mars. I don't know if I'd like living there with a yellow hint. It's like sepia. You'd be living in sepia. Sepia color. We already watched that one. At this point, 100% certain that the magnitude of fraud and federal indictments, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, welfare, disability combined exceeds the combined sum of every private scam you've ever heard of by far. Yep. Okay, I think we were actually where we were down here below before. There we go. Wow. 3-hour marathon. Mondays are intense, guys. Wow. All right. So that covers everything from Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And that was no messing around. And that was skipping a lot of stuff, but a lot of good stuff. A lot of stuff on Maduro, a lot of stuff on the fraud in Minneapolis. Election fraud is a big topic. Yeah. So let's be clear. It was Biden. So from Fury in the chat says, let's be clear. It was Biden, the Biden admin that issued the indictment for Maduro and the warrant for his arrest. The Dems are mad because Trump took it seriously and carried it out. That's the funny thing is Trump, all he does is enforces the law and they get pissed. Pretty funny how that works. Oh, let me see if we got anything quick here. No, this is 10 minutes. I don't want to talk about that. That'll get me on a tangent. 3i Atlas, Ray's astrophotography. He posted a video on plasma. Somebody had asked me about if I could expand any further on what it would mean to appear in the clouds. It's interesting, this Ray's astrophotography where he's talking about plasma. If, you know, there could be something with the technology, you know, the all the hubbub about 3i Atlas is this thing called an anti-tail, which it's a tail that's in front. So if you have an object that's moving forward, it stands to reason that the exhaust would come out the back. But the fact that 3i Atlas has what looks like a cloud in front of it in the direction that it's moving, that's the thing which is getting so much attention. And Ray is talking about plasma in the universe and how it could be plasma. It's entirely possible that it would appear like clouds. If it's some kind of a shield that protects it as it's going through space, it may be. If it ever comes to Earth and comes into our atmosphere, there could be a cloud-like protection around it. So that's interesting. Here, I'll just show you this as a reminder. If it looks like this, that could be plasma. You know, this is what I expect. This is now how I am expecting Jesus to return. in the clouds like this with great power and great glory. And that could entirely be 3i Atlas. So, we'll see. What else? I really want to talk about genetics, but I know if I do, we'll be here for another hour, which I know some of you in the chat would be okay with that, but 3 hours is already too long. My goal, I like to keep these at an hour. 2 hours is okay. 3 hours is really pushing it. So we're at the 3 hour mark. So just remind me tomorrow to talk about genetics. I did a bunch of work this weekend on genetic corruption, and really what it highlights is the importance of Eve. So possibly some new information. that we can infer when we look at the data, which is really interesting. You guys know me, I'm a data-driven individual. So I built a simulator to simulate like what would happen if you had Adam and Eve based on what we know about genetics, and you introduced a new genetic line, males only, the Watchers, and if that is biblical and what the implications would be. It's very interesting. But here we are. Three-Eye Atlas will be the great deception. You really think so? It could be. I mean, it's entirely possible that it's a meteor, but it has got so many, it does not behave like a meteor. And the fact that we, on the timeline, we're getting so close to when, so we're here, let's end on looking at the seals, looking at the timeline. Here. We're here right now. Seal number 4. So this is seal 1, 2, 3, and 4. According to this pattern, seal number 5 should open up in February. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it might be the start of the Great Tribulation. And based on what we're seeing with the fraud and Maduro and the election integrity type of stuff, this could be interesting. The Great Tribulation. It may not be like, the Great Tribulation in the way that we've been thinking about it. It could be to where there's just death globally. One thing you have to keep in mind. So this is one of the things that's important about when you're talking about prophecy and fulfillment and assumptions. It does say that it'll be worse than it's ever been on the earth, but at the same time, you have to balance it with what else is written about this time. It'll be like the days of Noah. They'll be eating and drinking and given in marriage. And also, it can't kill so many people that seal number 6 and seal number 7 has nobody left to kill, because seal number 6 and seal number 7, there's a lot of death. So seal number 5, it's got to be tempered with those things in mind, I believe. So, but I do believe that that's one of the reasons why God says it had to be cut short for the elect's sake, for otherwise no flesh would survive. So that's got to be with a mind of what's coming in seal number 6 and seal number 7. There's a lot of things coming on the world. But the reason why I like the Three-Eye Atlas, potentially being an armada of ships from Yeshua, is it kind of fits with the escape, like with Noah. Noah escaped the destruction that came on the earth. So, we call that the rapture, the falling away, the gathering together. It was said, the angel said, so Jesus, when he ascended to heaven, he went up into the clouds, and the angel standing by said that he'll come in the similar manner. He'll come in the clouds. So I don't think it's beyond reason to say that, Jesus was, taken up into some kind of a craft. And, maybe he went to go explore the universe for 2,000 years, because it says that he went to prepare a place for us. So now maybe he's going to come back in the same way that he left in the clouds, pick us up, take us away right before all of this great destruction takes place. That's hope. And then that's your full redemption. It says that to Philadelphia, the Church of Philadelphia, that they're not appointed to the wrath. So this, I'd say seal number 6 is called the wrath of the Lamb. Seal number 7 is the wrath of God. So we're not appointed to the wrath. So it stands to reason that hopefully 2026 could be the year that Jesus comes back and swoops us away. I don't know. That's my hope. If it doesn't happen, I'm sure God will take care of us and protect us. The only things that are really clear on probably what's going to happen are seal number 6 and seal number 7. Seal number 5 is the big fat question mark, because it talks about the impatience of those under the altar. How much longer, Lord? And then it does talk about death. So that goes hand in hand with the Great Tribulation. So it's uncomfortable to talk about, and I don't want to make any promises. I don't want to make people feel hopeless or without hope. That's the furthest thing from my intention. Ultimately, my goal is to observe prophecy and observe that it's coming to pass. I do believe that there's still many who need to realize that Yeshua is the Messiah. Because he said, he told us these things beforehand so that when they begin to happen, you will believe. John 14:29. And then also when he was given this information, he continuously said, see, I have told you beforehand. So he told us these things before they come to pass so that when they do happen, we will believe, which gives us confidence and gives us hope. That's why it's so exciting and so much fun to sit here and even though it's exhausting sometimes to go through the posts and timelines of the Donald Trump and Elon Musk, it's a lot of fun. It really is. I get a lot of fun of it. It's just, it's a marathon, 15 hours a week or more going through this stuff. So well worth it. For those who are looking for fact-based observation, we're definitely different here than your average, prophecy watching group. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Gives me hope, and I hope it gives you hope too. Let's see. So what do we got in the comments? Will be fun to see. Let's see. Fury says, stands to reason the first escape was built on the earth by a human, and the final escape would be built by Jesus in heaven. Agreed. Fury also says, sounds like an adventure to me. So yeah, let's go. I'm game. Watchful, regardless of what happens, we have to know that God has a master plan. And that's the big picture. Thank you. Very well said, Fury. So there we are. Thank you so much for joining me. See you guys tomorrow at 4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow will probably be a shorter day, no more than 2 hours, probably an hour if we can get there. And if you guys remind me, I'll talk about the genetics stuff that I was working on. That'll be fun as well. So God bless you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Shalom, shalom. Until then, take care. Keep looking up.